We live? Am I in focus? Hard to focus when you're not in focus. Alright. This is a dangerous stream. For many reasons. But mainly because I'm doing a very important operation right now that involves moving all my photos from my iPhone to my computer. And it's been going on now for like almost 24 hours, if not 24 hours. My phone's been plugged in, it's been chugging away, copying those files over, and it's literally snail's pace. And I know how sometimes we have a bit of a tradition, if you want to call it that, of my computer crashing when I stream. So I just hope that doesn't happen, because I will crash it. My computer will crash and I will also crash. And so that's why this title of this stream is called You Crash Out, You Lose, because that's hopefully not prophetic, but yeah, that's kind of the situation currently. And so anyway, I'm here with some weird thing on my head. And I just thought we'd chat for a bit. You know, it's an early morning stream for me. I was up anyway, and I'm kind of still a bit sick, a little bit sickly, a little bit tired. I figured, why not? Let's just get into it, right? I hope this is all working, by the way. What else? Yeah. I wanted to show you guys the outcome of this contraption. I don't know if it's going to actually work. What it's meant to do is curl your hair overnight. And so I had a shower last night. I didn't want to use my blow dryer or the air wrap. And I thought, oh, I haven't busted out this bad boy in so long. So I see Lockett. So we're going to see together, like live, if it actually worked. Because what you're meant to do is keep it on until your hair is essentially dry. Which it feels pretty dry. It's been on my head now for like, how many hours? Probably 10 hours or more. So if it's not dry at this point, then I don't know, like it's Jova. But yeah, we're gonna like wait for the reveal, and I'll show you guys my fit for today. Please tell me I haven't worn this yet. I just grabbed it from my collection. Oh, look at that. What the hell? I just grabbed it from my collection of clothes and figured it looks pretty unique. Surely I haven't worn this before. So anyway, Michael, welcome in. C. Lockett, welcome in. I know this is a bit short notice, so I don't expect people to be just always available at my beck and call, but I figured a stream, any stream at any time, is probably better than no stream. And so even with my computer in its precarious state, I'm gonna chug along, and hopefully the transfer just goes as planned in the background. I'll keep an eye on it, like, periodically. Currently, it's importing item 16,213. Fuck me. So yeah. See Lockett, have a wonderful time shopping, and yeah, I don't know what we'll do today. Oh yeah, I wanted to play some games from my childhood, actually, some computer games that I was obsessed with as a youngster, and probably people may have heard of them. They're a bit niche, or they're a bit kind of just old, and so maybe people have forgotten about them, but they are very dear to me. They still are very dear to me, and they're not even on Steam, I don't think. That's how old they are, and that's how niche they are. So if I can get that working, we could play a little bit of those games. Otherwise, just chatting like we normally do. And yeah, I'm currently barefaced, which always feels a little bit weird. The pink DS things is, yeah, it's along those lines. And yeah, it's like, it's one of those things where personally I feel like, oh, how could you not grow up with insert game here? But then I realized actually this was just just a random thing that only I knew about for some reason. And so I'm wondering if you guys will be familiar with these games. I'm trying to keep it a secret. And yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait either. Actually, the reason why I jumped on stream so early today was not just because I was awake, but also because like in the Discord we were like chatting and stuff. I was looking through the clips in that clip channel specifically, and it just made me laugh. It just made me chortle to put it lightly. And so like, let's just see if we can make some more chortle moments together. And usually it's the case where you can't force it. It just happens. So the only way to let that happen is to actually show up. And here I am. Maybe through sheer statistics. Yeah. Through sheer statistics, hopefully I can make a like exhale through your nose moment. So that's something I've talked about when it comes to writing as well. Just like writing a fuck ton. So like the volume really is the defining factor. It becomes less about if you're going to write something good and when. It becomes more about when you'll write something good, because surely after enough time eventually something will happen. Like 2 brain cells will rub together and something amazing will happen, hopefully. So as for this thingy, I'll show you in just a second. It's a handy dandy hair device, and it's pretty simple. Like it's kind of old school, I'd say. It's certainly like you kind of have to invest your time to get the benefits from it, as opposed to just having perfect hair like straight out of the shower. If you used a blow dryer, it would probably take half an hour to an hour to get your hair nice and ready for the day. But this is an overnight job. So it's like, if you don't want to use any heat, you're trying to protect your hair, and it's like quality, whatever, you can do something like this. And so stay tuned for the grand reveal. But yeah, let me see if I can get those games working. Though I'm trying not to push my computer right now because it's in a very delicate state. It's just doing its job importing those photos and videos. And it does make me wonder, why haven't we like figured out a better way to import iPhone photos to a computer? Like, I don't want to fucking buy the fucking cloud access or whatever. I don't want my shit in the cloud. And I don't want to buy a phone that has like 1 terabyte of space. So like, what's the solution here? Like, Steve Jobs, talk to me, man. Because I feel like there's got to be a better way than this. Like, I know I have a lot of photos to transfer, but holy shit, why is this so slow and so finicky? Like, if you turn off your phone, then you have to start again. Or if you like accidentally pull out the cord, then it's Jova. And so yeah, that's my official complaint to Apple. Please just get your shit together, essentially. Though really, they don't necessarily have a need to, because people will just, they'll bite the bullet. They'll pay for the iCloud storage. They'll buy more storage on their iPhones. So we need to bring back the guillotine, I believe. Let me see here. The one game in particular that I was really interested to play with you guys is kind of, I don't know, is it popular? It's called Zuma. And it was a game that I got pretty heavily addicted to at one point, I'm not gonna lie. It was like a game that you could easily lose hours and hours of your day to. Like, you sit down at your computer, you're like, oh, I'll play one game. And then the next thing you know, it's like midnight and you're like, holy shit, I just time traveled and I wasted my whole day. And still, I never learned my lesson. I just would do it all over again the next day. And it's like, it's such a simple premise as well. So if I can get this working, which I can't guarantee, but hopefully I can, then I'll get to show you guys what I mean. Because it's like, it doesn't seem all that addictive, right? But then when you're in the zone, it's just like, fuck, this is so good. So, because I'm still in the process of moving over all my files from my old computer, and that included a bunch of these games. But I don't know if I'll be able to get it to work. If not, that's okay too. We can always come back to that. It's not like it's going to run away or anything. As for if I do therapy, yes, I do therapy. I actually only started like a few months back, and I just had my kind of final lesson session for this time period, because we only get a certain amount of sessions for like the year before you have to like pay for more. But I was like doing it through a program, so I got 10 sessions for free. And it was really wonderful. It was like, it was so different to what I was expecting because I'd never done anything like that before. Like, I've had D&Ms with friends, I've had meaningful conversations with, people in my life and stuff. And I was wondering, how different can it really be? Like, what is the difference between a really good friend with a perfect listening ear and a therapist? And the answer that I found out was quite a bit. Like, there's something about the ways that therapists and like psychologists and stuff like that are trained, the way they're specifically knowledgeable about just the right questions to ask at just the right time, or like the way to keep the conversation on track, or like to make you feel like you're not being judged no matter what you say. It's really, really impressive. And it's like another example of that invisible work that we talk about. When someone's so good at what they do, you can't exactly tell why, you just feel the effects. And so that's what I learnt, among other things, of course. And I do sympathize with people that want to try it but have maybe less access to it. Like, they don't have the resources. Because for some reason, it's fucking expensive. Like, this vital thing that probably everyone on Earth would benefit from is highly inaccessible. It's such a shame. And I know that, like, it's a complicated issue. It's people cleverer than I have probably, dissected the topic in much greater detail. But it feels like if we're looking for a place to start in terms of like general health and happiness of our people, that would be a place to focus on, at least. And so, yeah, it's like, it's one of those things. If it's possible, I would highly recommend everyone try going to therapy at least once. It's a bit scary, and sometimes it can feel a bit embarrassing. Like, nowadays I think it's less so, but back in the day, it was seen as like, oh, what's wrong with you? You only go to therapy if something's wrong with you. And I think that's unfortunate. That's an unfortunate, uncharitable way to look at it. Nowadays, I think it's more like considered maintenance almost. Like when you go take your car in for a yearly checkup, it's like doing a similar thing, but with your own self. And yeah, my therapist was even telling me like some of the like healthiest people, their mental health, and some of the healthiest couples and stuff like that, they go to therapy quite often and quite religiously. And it's not about anything being necessarily wrong. It's just about having that check-in periodically, like having someone to talk to who's maybe a bit more objective and a bit more removed from like your daily life. So there's less embarrassment. And yeah, sometimes the things that come up, the topics that come up can be quite surprising. I found myself saying multiple times things that I didn't expect to say. They just kind of came out of somewhere. And even some pretty emotional moments where I felt this sudden like wave of whatever it is, sadness or happiness or like anger even. And there was one specific moment, and I hope you guys will indulge me as I digress here. One specific moment in those 10 sessions where I kind of lost my composure a little bit. And that's not something that I tend to do. It's not something that I like to do because I feel like it's almost embarrassing and like vulnerable making. And so I've spoken on stream before about how I hate crying. I hate crying on my own because it's like, it's just an annoying feeling. But I especially hate crying in front of other people. It's something I try to avoid at all costs in that kind of anxious, avoidant way. Like I'll even decline going to see movies if I know they're going to be sad because I don't want to cry in front of people. And just like, it's just something I hate. I've even said on stream before, like I'd rather go streaking through the neighborhood than like full on start bawling in front of like, my group of my friends, for example. It's not for any reason. Like, I don't think they would particularly judge me or make fun of me, but it's just like something that feels so personal. It's like a private thing. And, yeah, so that's just kind of a preface to this story, which is like, I was talking with my therapist and we're having this kind of more intense conversation. And I felt myself getting a bit choked up. Like, I was like, oh God, it's happening. You know what I mean? I was like, no, my worst nightmare. And such a cliche, starting to like tear up in therapy, like, oh, of course. but the part that interested me was not the fact that I was getting emotional, because I think that's relatively normal in that situation, right? It was the fact that as I was talking, and bear in mind, this was an online session. My therapist isn't even in my same state, which is interesting. She's like halfway across the country. Um, so while I was kind of talking with her and she was asking me these questions, I was getting more and more worked up to the point where I was kind of retreating inwards, like trying to talk through it, but mostly I was getting so overwhelmed that I was like kind of, I don't know what the word is. It's not like a dissociation. I think that's too strong of a word, but like I just felt like the emotion level was starting to impact my articulation level. And so I was like, fuck, I'm not being articulate at all right now. Like she's asking me questions and I'm barely responding. I was just kind of like, brain does not compute type beat. But the really interesting thing was, and this was the moment I kind of realized, oh, okay, this is some real shit, you know. Like this is why people go to therapy. She changed her tactic. Instead of asking me to explain myself in like big, long, articulate sentences, she switched her questions to be more like along the lines of what I could potentially deal with in that moment. And so picture this, like me kind of overwhelmed on the verge of tears as I'm describing this thing. It's emotional. And she's like, okay, I think her question was something along the lines of this, but don't quote me. I'm paraphrasing here. So she was like, okay, I see, like, I see there's some emotion there. What picture is coming most to your mind, like most vividly right now, if you had to pick something? And I was like, picture. And it took me a second because I wasn't really picturing anything. I was just like, I was internal. I was like in this, you know, funk trying to figure out what my thoughts actually were. But when she asked me that, it gave me something more concrete to focus on, right? And I was trying to kind of refocus all my energy into answering that question, which also helped me calm down a little bit, right? And so what I ended up saying was something like an emptiness, you know, something kind of vaguely poetic, vaguely cringy in equal measure. It was the most true thing I could say in that moment. But it was like her perceptiveness to be able to switch tact, which was really, really interesting. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And like, that's the kind of thing that maybe a friend wouldn't necessarily be able to do without any kind of training, you know? And so there was like all this stuff that was kind of being unearthed. And I was like, just really grateful for her sensitivity in that way. And we talked about this also on stream. The first few times I went to therapy and like wrapping up and everything, I had to spend some time on my own and be like, what's this weird feeling? I feel so light. I feel like kind of a bit floaty and a little bit, I don't know, happy and relieved. And so just completely puzzled by this feeling, like trying to frantically Google what the fuck was going on. And like my best like answer, the solution that I found online was like, you may be experiencing what some people call catharsis, which is like this really deep, sometimes quite profound feeling of just healing, essentially. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. And so, yeah, I just found like that was really helpful. And I'm in the process right now of getting like somehow engaging the system, like the mental health system here, so I can actually be afforded more lessons or sessions, because there are so many unnecessary hoops for some reason that we have to jump through. Otherwise, you know, I'd have to just pay out of pocket, and I don't even know how much that would cost, but I think it would probably be in like the multiple hundreds per session, which, yeah, is kind of just a bit out of my price range currently. So I'm hoping that, I can get some more sessions subsidized through some mental health plan or something, or just, have the regular ones reset, because I think it's like every calendar year you get a certain amount. But yeah, I don't know, is that helpful to people? Do try it if you have the opportunity. It's worth it. And to welcome in. Good morning, good morning. And yeah, today just kind of random. It's early here, so I'm not really I don't know. I'm not really awake yet, to be honest, which you can probably tell. And I've got this colorful little number on to distract from the fact that I'm not quite awake yet. Pro Photo, hello again. I'm glad to see you again, my friend. Yeah, so maybe I'll like toss this back to you guys. If you feel comfortable answering, tell me, how are you feeling in one word or less? And remember the or less, like it counts. And while you guys answer, we can do the unveiling. Ooh, because I'm excited. And as funny as this is to wear on stream, it's kind of annoying. So, visibly, hello, hello. Lurking is totally fine, by the way. So, I don't know if you guys can see, but what I did was like curl my hair around this like foam thingy. Then you tie it at the end so it stays in place. And same on the other side. I'm not the best at this, so keep that in mind. Yeah, lurking is perfectly fine. It looks a bit like a pool, like noodle. It basically is. It's a mini pool noodle. See? And then you're meant to kind of just pick it up from the top. Let's see. I don't know, did that work? If I wanted to really preserve it, I'd at that point spray my hair with hairspray and then kind of fluff it out. But, you know, it's still a little bit wet, actually. So, ta-da! Was that worth 10 hours of pool noodle head? I don't know. You guys can decide. Oh, God. And funnily enough, or perhaps pathetically enough, I actually can't swim. So I will need that pool noodle if I decide to go to the beach. You'd say yes? Ah, that's nice of you. It's it looks a lot shinier on camera than in person. That's one of the perks of having a big, gigantic white light in your face. But I'll take it, I'll take it. And Maida, yeah, self-therapy is definitely a thing too. Like, I think we, at most times, I would say, if not all times, but maybe I shouldn't be so absolutist, at most times we have what we need within ourselves to not just survive, but hopefully thrive. And sometimes it doesn't seem that way. It's like, oh God, I'm so lost and confused and I don't know what to do. But like the wise Amy Walker says, you are ready and you are equipped, you know? Like, no matter what that nasty voice in your head is telling you. So, let me just put my trusty necklace on. Now, let's see how you guys are feeling. Tense? I'm sorry to hear it. I know what it's like to be tense. I hope you can spend some time here and maybe relax a little tiny bit. Even if you find that you're 1% less tense, that will be a dub in my eyes. And Cody, you're feeling cheerful, optimistic as always. I love it. I guess I have to answer too, right? How am I feeling? Colorful. Very colorful. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but I don't know what the hell I'm meant to do with these things. I was like, do I tie them up? Like, does it go like this? But I actually think it's just decoration. And so I'm like, okay, art teacher it is. Cheerful is fantastic. I'm glad to hear it. And so, currently undercaffeinated, yes. I mean, I don't drink coffee or anything like that, but I definitely know what it's like to feel that way. And so, good on you. Work on it. And yeah, what are you guys up to today? It's, for me, it's a Wednesday. So, happy hump day, guys. Are you all getting ready for something? Are you going to work? Are you taking some time to chill? tell me all about it. And yeah. Oh, maybe I can show you guys something cool today as well. Like yesterday, among other things, I actually did a little bit of excursioning, and I went to an antique store, and I got something really cool. Um, it's I'll just show you actually. I'll grab it. It's in the other room, but I don't know if I'll be able to demonstrate using it because it's got to do with my hair, and I just fixed my hair. So, just home from working, still on a Tuesday. Oh, that's fantastic. Tuesday. We all love Tuesday. Astro, welcome in. Yeah, I guess you consider what I'm doing right now working from home, but it doesn't really feel like that, to be honest. It's more just like chilling out and just saying random words from home. And so let me get this little thing that I got yesterday at this antique store, and you guys can tell me what you think, and I'll explain also why I got it. I'll be 2 seconds, so don't you worry. Oh my gosh. Was that, how loud was that? Astro, thank you very much. I hope that didn't scare you guys. Elvis, my beloved. And I will come back not with coffee, but with something else. Oh, so you can see the fit as well. Excuse me. Yeah. Have I worn this? I'm kind of scared now. I feel like I have worn this before. Art teacher shirt, blue jeans. I'm gonna have to double check, but I'll be right back. Okay. Enjoy the chair. Okay, you guys ready? I can't even be like, oh, guess, because it's really obvious what it is. It came in a set, so this, which, how beautiful is that? A hairbrush and a mirror. It's like so beautiful, right? And it was $10. $10 AUD for both, like together. And now I do have hairbrushes. Actually, I have quite a few. But the reason why I wanted this brush was kind of a bit of a silly reason. Silly, but true. And it's got something to do with Disney princesses. Not to mention, like, the bristles here are really hard. And I love that in a hairbrush. I find that sometimes those nylon bristles or the plastic bristles, like, they don't get the job done. And also, if you want to multitask and use your hairbrush as like a dry brush for your skin, usually slightly harder bristles are better. Not too hard, obviously. You don't want to scratch yourself. And so I was like, oh, yeah, this is perfect. Not to mention it's really pretty. But then the reason why this one in particular, like, kind of grabbed my attention was because it made me think about all those cartoons that I watched as a little girl, and especially like Disney movies and stuff like that. The princesses, they always had hairbrushes that looked almost like the bristles were one flat white thing, if that makes sense. I'll try and find an illustration, but it was like, it just looked like a cartoon hairbrush, and it just made me feel like a Disney princess. I was like, I have to have you. And I don't know why, but I started singing Anastasia's Once Upon a December in the antique store. It just suddenly popped into my head, and I was like, this would be perfect, you know? Yeah, it's kind of like the Ariel hairbrush. Like, it's got a cartoonish look to it, don't you think? And so maybe if I can Google it, I can show you guys. From the actual film. I know she uses a fork, but surely, unless it's another princess. Hairbrush. Yeah, it's kind of like... Alright, I'll show you guys what I'm looking at. Dancing bears, painted wings. Oh! Pro photo, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I hope that wasn't too loud again. So, I'll show you guys exactly what I mean in terms of the Disney hairbrush. And also I can show you guys yourselves. How cool is that? That's what you look like. That's me looking at myself. And that's my microphone. I love your vibe. Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, since you joined us recently, you fit right in. So you are the vibe, my friend. Disney hairbrush. I'm sorry about the typing as well. It's so fucking loud. It's like, it's comical. There's only one good photo here, but I'll show you. Just here. Disney hairbrush. Just one sec. See? How it looks a bit like the bristles are all one thing. So, yeah, I'm not going to brush my hair with it now because, well, obvious reasons. But I wanted to show you my spoils and I think it's so cute. I should probably clean this. It's a bit dusty, but how nice. And so, yeah, maybe if that was Cinderella, what songs are in Cinderella? Fuck. I should know this. A dream is a wish your heart makes. Yeah. My partner and I have a toy that we named Cinderella. Oh, that's cute. Like a teddy bear. I remember when I was in primary school, we did like musicals every year, and one of them, I don't know if we did Cinderella or a different Disney production, but that song, "A Dream Is a Wish Your Heart Makes," was in it, and that was nice. It's like kind of pretty involved for a primary school kid to be like doing productions every year and stuff like that. But yeah, I was singing Anastasia. Hey, do you guys know the movie Anastasia? Once Upon a December. Okay. Cool. You were the lead role in Oliver Twist. That's so cute. Did you have to say, "Please, can I have some more?" You know what? If I had $1 for every time I said that on stream, I'd have like a couple dollars, which isn't much, but it is strange that it's more than one. I'm pretty sure there's a clip of me saying that somewhere. Anyway, that's wonderful. Did they have to like dress you up and like put dirt on your face and stuff like that? Did you wear a beret? That's very charming. I mean, have I even seen Oliver Twist? I must have, like, as a kid. But it was so long ago, I can basically only remember the pop culture moments. You started out with an English accent, but people made fun of you. No, that's horrible. So I stopped doing it. It's funny, we have a similar experience then. When I was in, it was also like year 4, I think. I was playing a duck. I mean, it was like, we were all ducks in this production. And my duck was meant to be quite posh. So I was like talking with this exaggerated accent. I was like saying, "Oh, what a fine young evening," or some shit like that, right? And when I auditioned, I actually did that accent as a joke because I was like reading the character, oh, posh, kind of like pretentious, overwrought. And so I did the accent as a joke to make my friends laugh. But then the teachers were like, oh, that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. And I was like, fuck. So now I have to do this accent the whole time, like throughout this 1.5 hour play or however long it was. And, you know, it was fine. It was a bit embarrassing, but people seemed to like it. And yeah, it got some laughs. So that's all I really care about back then and even now, I suppose. But yeah, I remember like the moment that I decided to do this little prank and then, yeah, setting the precedent and then being like, oh shit, actually people want me to do that now. Like for the next however long this production is going to go on for, the practicing, the performing and everything. And so, yeah, a star duck is born. That's exactly right. I remember actually there's a recording of that production somewhere. But I remember there was like songs that we had to do and stuff. And I think I had a solo line, not a whole song. But it was a kind of production where it was kind of corny, but you know, it's like little kids. And one of the lines, not mine, someone was like, oh, what's marmalade? As in mama duck. What has she laid? What egg has she laid? And then the other character was like, oh, marmalade is something that you put on toast. And like, that's literally the caliber of jokes. And so, yeah. Oh God, if my parents ever find that recording, because they bought a recording of it, I'll just die of embarrassment. But yeah. So I got my start early as a little actress. And so, yeah, I think the production was called Honk, which is meant to be like a retelling of the Ugly Duckling story. That's basically all I can remember about it. And so, yeah, I think her name was Grace, my character, which is funny because I guess she thought she was graceful, but she was more just like pretentious. And yeah, Emto, you might be right. Like this was not a cassette. It was like a big, bulky, like kind of tape, I think. And so I don't even know if we have the machinery now to play that, but it may have been a CD. I can't remember. But if it is still playable, oh God. Yeah, it could have been a VHS tape or it could have been a CD, I can't remember. Or a DVD, sorry. And so, oh jeez. I'm a little bit grateful, to be honest, that it's lost somewhere to the void. But I know that it is out there. So, yeah. Oh God. And the funny thing is too that like it was a whole entire class or cohort rather of people in this production. So I'm sure other parents also bought the same recording and maybe they have one like just sitting on their bookshelf and I'm in there being a little duckling. So, oh God. Anyway, that's for another day, guys. Along with the other home movies where I'm singing at the top of my lungs at a pitch almost unknown to mankind before that moment, and playing the drums, the fake drums, and playing the fake guitar. So that's all a bundle together for another time. But yeah, funny shit. I remember another one of our productions like the next year was like High School Musical, and at the time it was kind of cool to not like High School Musical. So I was kind of pretending that I hated having to be in the production, but I secretly really liked it. I was like, oh, I can't believe we have to sing, you know the world can see us. Oh, however the song goes, in a way that's different from who we are. It's like, oh, it's so cringy. It's like, kind of like, you know, just lapping it up. And so I'm a bit like regretful that I wasn't more just chill with like liking whatever the fuck I liked back then. But I've learnt my lesson at this point, which you guys know. Potentially overcorrected because considering our last stream's discussion, sometimes I think maybe I share too much of what I actually genuinely like. And so, yeah, High School Musical was an interesting one. I wasn't even in the play that time, I don't think. I was in the choir. And so I had to sit there for like an hour and a half, let's say, and just sing one song after another and play that very delicate balancing act of looking like I'm not enjoying it as much as I am. High School Musical, and just being like, you know. But yeah, anyway, speaking of singing, of course I can give you a smooth operator, but let's see. I don't know if my voice is warm. Smooth operator. How's that? Smooth operator. I heard Sade also when I was at the antique store, and I was just vibing out. I have a bad habit of singing when I'm in public. Like, I don't do it to be obnoxious, so I will accept if that is how it comes across. I try and keep it to myself. But when I hear like music playing or like songs playing over the radio, like I literally feel like I have to sing. I have to sing along, especially if I know the song. And so because, yeah, I was at this like antique marketplace for a decent amount of time, 2 or 3 hours. They had the radio on, and I was just like singing along to each song, hoping that people don't get annoyed with me. And when Sade came on, I was like, yeah, I can't hold back. I mean, come on, it's Sade. And so, yeah, I really mean it when I say music and stuff, and especially singing, however competent I am, varying degrees of it over time. If not talking or eating or sleeping, I'm quite literally singing. Sometimes talking and singing, if that's possible. So yeah, even in public, no one is safe. So watch out. But yeah. Pro photo, when you were Oliver, you were supposed to do a solo of Where Is Love, but you couldn't. They had to modify the script so the chorus would sing with you. Oh, I mean, I don't blame you. Like, not only is it nerve-wracking, it's difficult. Like, they get these kind of young kids who are already nervous and who may not have had musical training before, and they just like sing a solo in front of a fuck ton of people. And it's like, of course they're going to be like, I don't know, they're going to struggle if they're not already in that realm, you know? And so I honestly think, what did they expect, you know? But of course I feel bad for your little year 4 self. I mean, do we have any I haven't even shared with you my most embarrassing blunder of all time, which some of you guys may know if you're an OG Emmy Cherry fan. But this story is 100% true, and I wish that it wasn't. Where do I even begin? This was another like musical production thing, and I was even younger. I think this was like kind of just after grade 1 or 2. So I was like a really young, preppy little thing. We had this musical concert thing that we do once a year, and everyone had their own role. Some people were playing instruments, some people were dancing, some people were like doing whatever the fuck they were, like whatever task they were given. And I don't know why this happened. I don't know if this was just the luck of the draw, if I happened to be late one day. I literally can't remember for the life of me. But they were handing out instruments. And I was like one of the last few people to get one. And so they'd all run out. They'd all run out of instruments to give. All the like guitars had been handed out. All the fucking, you know, the drum kits had been handed out. And I was left with the mighty instrument of the triangle. You know, it's an important instrument. I won't deny that. I was a bit hurt by that. No, not really. I was like, fine, if this is what I have to do, I'm gonna accept my role. The part that I was hurt by was the actual concert event when it came up. Again, I don't know how this happened. I just know that it did. And on the actual concert day or night, everyone was all ready to go. We'd all been practicing. I'd been fucking practicing like ding, 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 because that's all you can fucking do with a triangle, right? Anyway, I was ready to go. I was like, you know what? I'm going to ace this. I've got the simplest gig out of everyone. And we're all getting ready to go on stage and stuff. And then we're looking around and shit like, where's the triangle? Like, I don't see the triangle. I see all the guitars. I see all the drums. I see everything else. Where is the triangle? And so apparently it was just so like forgettable that no one had packed it for the concert. And I was like, well, what can I do? I have nothing else. And I can't remember who said it. It was one of the teachers. They were just like, just go out there and mime it. Just go out there and pretend. And I was like, not only do I have the indignity of playing the most easiest like instrument ever, but I don't even have the actual instrument. It's a pantomime. It's a fake. And I was like, I was just burning with humiliation. I didn't even realize at the time what humiliation was or what it felt like. I was young. I was literally like fucking, I don't know how old I was, like 8 years old. And there was nothing else to do. So I was like, okay. I'll go out there and pretend to play the triangle. So there is literally a video of me out there, like as a fucking 8-year-old, like this. And that memory haunts me. Like it literally haunts me for like it will haunt me for the rest of my days. Though sometimes it just sneaks up unbidden, like in the middle of the night where I'm trying to sleep, and then this thought flashed in my head. Remember when you didn't play the triangle in front of everyone? Yeah, that was fun, wasn't it? And remember how there's photographic evidence of that? That's just cherry on top. And so I will say though, for all its horribleness, there is a happy ending, because this happened much, much later in my life. I shared that story with a group of my friends in high school. And for my birthday, I think it was, they got me a triangle, like an actual triangle. And so it's here somewhere in my house. It's like probably buried under many, many layers of other other things. But it's like I finally, like it came full circle. I finally got my triangle. And so I haven't really used it like for all my musical endeavors. I've never really broken out the old triangle and just like had it go. But the fact that they were so thoughtful and wanted to kind of make right the situation meant a lot to me. And this is a group of friends that I hold very dear, that I've known now for over a decade. And it was relatively early on in our friendship. I realized at least these are good people, you know. And it wasn't even done like, it probably a little bit was of it was done as like a little joke, like hee triangle, remember? But it was genuinely like a sweet, thoughtful thing for the most part. Like, here's the reparations for what should have been. I was like, I appreciate that. So, oh God, what can I say? So no matter what, like whoever has any embarrassing stories of like, musical productions and concerts as a kid, just have that in the back of your mind and hopefully it'll bring you some comfort. Because yeah, I've never been able to to really live that down. But oh gosh, it's my pleasure, Pro Photo, and I hope that makes you feel better about your grade 4 self, which I'm sure did a fantastic job as Oliver Twist. Yeah. I'll have to find that triangle. I know it's in here somewhere. It used to be in my bedside table drawer. I don't know why. It was just like, because it's relatively small, like where else can you put this thing? But when I was moving and stuff, I don't know, it probably just got swept away with all the other belongings. But yeah, many embarrassing moments, but none musical. I did sing karaoke a few times. Karaoke is almost designed to be embarrassing. For as much as I love singing and stuff like that, I'm not quick to jump into karaoke with people because I get too choked up. I get so nervous. It's hard enough like singing here for you guys. I've been trying to train myself to do it more casually. But like, oh God, my throat literally just closes up and I start shaking and stuff like that. So I think most of the time you have to be a little bit tipsy or a bit more than tipsy to do karaoke with a group, but I don't drink. So it's like, I don't have any liquid courage. But yeah, it's like, it's not even that deep. It's meant to be a fun time and everyone's more or less like equally as bad. So it's like, yeah, that's just like par for the course. Though I will say, when I'm alone, you know, those shower concerts, guys, I get into it and like I'm booming. I'm like imagining that I'm just a super rock star. And yeah, I don't know where all that bravado goes as soon as I step out of the shower. But the acoustics in the bathroom, I feel like there's some magic about the bathroom acoustics. It just makes a person's voice sound like 10 times better. It's got to be like the echo, some kind of reverb, natural reverb and stuff like that. Just a warm, um, like fuller bodied sound. And so, yeah, I'm not kidding. Like there have been some recordings that I've done on my phone and stuff where I've actually just been either in the bathroom or like in the hallway because of the echo and how it kind of gives some warmth to a song, which otherwise it might just feel a bit flat and dry. Um, and so, yeah, don't knock it till you try it, guys. Like, if you're, if somehow, some way you need to record a song and you're like, oh, where am I going to do this? I don't have a studio to just hop down to. Bathroom. More specifically, the shower, even. Like, just hop in the shower, full clothes on, and just start belting like you're Freddie Mercury. That's my advice. Um, but yeah. Yeah, the water does dampen it, that's true. It's weird, like, there's something about the atmosphere of like water rushing. It kind of it almost provides like a bed of white noise. For me, I quite like that texture. And then depends what else is going on in your bathroom. If you got like the fan going, that could be a bit problematic. But acoustics, like plain and simple, it's a good place to start if you wanna if you want something quick and dirty type beat, which is ironic because it's the bathroom, so it's clean. But you know what I mean. Anyway, um, yeah, that's funny. One time we did do a stream where I was like on my phone and we were in the bathroom, not in the bath, and I was just like singing a medley of different songs, some by requests from you guys and some that were just on my mind. I was like, damn, okay, actually pretty good. So yeah, I don't know if this room was really the best for it. When I did Smooth Operator, no need to ask, he's Smooth Operator. Now I'm getting shy. Oh gosh. It's weird, like, sometimes I feel like totally dichotomous, guys. What a big word. Like, I have wants and desires that conflict with other wants and desires. And I'm like, well, which one is it? Make up your mind, girl. Like, I love making art and I love sharing it. But at the same time, I dread sharing it. And sometimes I even dread making it. So it's like, what the fuck? It's like, what Patrick Starr, the wise scholar of our time, said, the inner machinations of my mind are an enigma. I don't even know half the time what's going on up there. And so, yeah. Sometimes I worry about coming across as like, not hypocritical, but like contradictory. And it's not something that I don't realize, if that makes sense. It's kind of like, yeah, the contradictions are baked in. And for some reason, they just like, yeah, they all coalesce. And so that's how I feel about making music. Less so with writing. Maybe I'm more comfortable with sharing my writing at this point. But with my own music and my songs and stuff, and just singing in general, I get really shy about it because I'm like, it's just cringe, which is not a fair or charitable way to talk to oneself. So, a bad habit, I know. But I think it's a very human thing to not really enjoy necessarily the sound of your own voice. For me, it's like, at times like pulling teeth, and it's ironic to have a profession like this where basically you're just listening to yourself all day or watching yourself back. It's like, they could not be more opposite. But I will say over time, I've almost through exposure therapy, I've kind of gotten a little bit more used to it. Not fully. But it's like, it's just kind of like, yeah, you get more familiar and some of the extreme shock and disgust kind of get sanded down the edges. So, yeah. I don't know if I'll ever be fully okay with it. But it's like, yeah, it's one of those things where at the very least you can take the edge off and not cringe, like do a full body cringe every time you hear your own voice played back. And so that's how I can essentially watch my own clips back and watch my own VODs back if I need to, without just melting into a puddle of embarrassed goo. So, yeah. To our first time chatter, welcome in. I'd like you to stick around if you feel like just hanging out with some cool cats. We're just chilling right now. And me noticing that I'm out of focus. Let me come closer here. I still haven't got my website up and running yet, which I feel a bit bad about. Because, like, that's where I basically show you guys all my work, my poetry, and it's also where my, like, merch is sold. And so I'm hoping to get that fixed as soon as possible, because we've had so many new friends join us. And even if, like, you know, putting merch and stuff aside, even if they just want to, like, read some of my work, or they have some spare time in between random things in their day and they want something to fill that time, like, yeah, I'd like to have that available to people. And so, yeah, I hope I get it back up and running soon, Cody. Because, yeah, I've got stuff to add to it too. That's fun. Like, considering how many notes are on my fucking phone. And that also reminds me, guys, it's been the second complaint in one stream about Apple. The search function. If any of you guys have an Apple product, please let me know if this is normal or not. But my search function on my Notes app, and sometimes just even my normal, like, phone, like, home screen, the search function fucking sucks. It's like I type in a word to search by and, like, nothing comes up, even though it's like the word the. Sorry, you haven't used the word the in any of your 1,100 notes. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm pretty sure I have, but if Apple says I haven't, I guess not. And then I type in some random shit like anti-disestablishmentarianism, and it's like, ah, yes, here's the specific time you use that one thing and it's spelled incorrectly, and it's like, what the fuck? Why is my phone just behaving on its own accord? Once you have, like, you know, over 1,000 notes, like in my case, the search function becomes extremely vital in my eyes. And the fact that it, like, only works some of the time, it's just a slap in the face. It's like, just don't even have the option. Like, don't tease me with the chance of it maybe working, and then most of the time it just being like, oh, I'm gonna respond however the fuck I please. You know, it's like, dude, okay. And so I don't know if it's just a me thing or if other people who have, like, Apple iPhones can chime in on this, because it's a very important thing for me. And I've had it up to here, guys. Not quite here, but, like, up to here. And so maybe there's a limit to how many notes you can have. You know? Like, I understand that it's a lot of notes. Still, though, I just want to be able to search my notes. Is that too much to ask for an iPhone? Oh, God. But yeah. Cody, you're right. I can direct people to my WordPress site if they'd like to see just what I'm about. It's not updated, though, but it's, like, I guess better than nothing. Because that's still up, I believe. It's just my more recent website that for some reason it's having a little rest, which is fair. I also took a long rest, so I understand what it's like. But yeah. Gosh. I need to make a petition. It's like, Apple, actually make your products fucking work, please. Sign here. Sign here, here, not here. Because, yeah, I've been noticing a bunch of, like, glitches lately, though I was unsure if that was due to the fact that I had, like, less than a gigabyte of space on my phone. So that's why I'm doing this massive transfer, and I'll update you guys. It's on 16,269. Nice. This is going to take fucking ever. I honestly think my phone might need to be plugged in for like the next 3 days, which is fine. I mean, I guess it's just like, it's annoying because, yeah, the longer it goes on for, the more stressed I get thinking about the fact that it could all go terribly wrong and it will all have been for nothing. It's not like I'm attached to my phone. I can leave it here. But there was a moment where I was about to leave and then I noticed there was a error message that popped up and it was like, oh, this file is like corrupted or whatever. What should we do? I just pressed like ignore. It's like, oh shit, if I'd gone and like went out for a few hours without my phone, it would have been paused that whole time. It's like, no, I'm stressed, thinking it might do the same thing. So I've been checking it like every few hours or whatever. Because, yeah, my phone was basically getting unusable, having so little space. And I've been putting this off for so long. It's like, I can't be bothered. I can't be bothered transferring my pictures. But eventually I knew I'd have to bite the bullet, so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just hoping and praying that my computer and my phone will both cooperate until the finish line, essentially. Because they both have been acting up, so it only takes one. Even me, like, if I accidentally fucking trip over the cord or something, and I pull out the cord, I have to start again. And this has been going on since yesterday, so... I just want it to be over. Yeah, the Great Phone Purge. Oh, that does remind me. Once I do import everything over, because it's going to erase them all after moving them, I'm going to have no photos on my phone. So I'm going to have to build it up a little bit quickly, because I use my photos to make things like the Club Cherry videos, for instance. So I have to make one tomorrow. I refer back to things. Like if I'm writing, I'm like, oh, I remember I took a screenshot of like that particular description or something. Like, and yeah, the search function for the photos was also kind of bugging out. So anyway, I hope that having a fresh, clean slate will be not too, too detrimental. I think it'll only be a boon because, yeah, it's about time. I had pictures from ages ago. I can probably check. Here's my phone, which it's just left on, you know. I just really been trying to leave it alone, but let's see. I've got photos from 2011. So, you know, that kind of shows just how far back this goes. And it doesn't justify the fact that I have like 37,000 photos and videos. But it maybe, it contextualizes some of it. And so, yeah, there's a lot of selfies. There's a lot of like different eras of Emmy because I have looked quite different over the course of my life. For the majority of my life, I didn't look like this. I only recently started looking like this, to be honest. And so, for the most part, like you guys have seen in the what part of the Discord is it where my sister posts pictures of me? Kiji's Corner. You see lots of pictures of me like pre-nose job or post pixie cut, and I've come to I guess accept or appreciate all those different eras of myself because it's just like a different threads in the tapestry of my life, which is a poetic way to say like that's just me. You know, like I think at the time maybe I used to be a bit more angsty about it, like all teenagers are, worried in hopeless vanity about their appearance. And so nowadays, and again, it's a bit like exposure therapy, like showing you guys some of those moments, some of those like embarrassing teenage like phases and stuff has actually helped in terms of just letting it go. In terms of how I look nowadays, I think I'm relatively happy. There are things that I would change, I think, if I could. If I had like a magic wand, it could just like, you know, ding, 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 like Photoshop in real life. But in general, it's not like that kind of burning, angsty, like, oh, woe is me feeling that I think used to at times preoccupy me, you know, which is not a flattering thing to admit, but it's true. And so, yeah, part of that is just growing up. Part of that is being privileged enough to actually take matters into my own hands when like I felt it was necessary, like aka the nose job situation. Um, and so yeah, I feel like there's hope, guys. The message is a hope core message. Puberty can strike you later than you think, or it can strike you twice. Some people, late bloomers or double bloomers, you know how it goes. For me, I think it was a slow process, little moments over time, finding my style and what I prefer. Like right now, I'm trying to keep it relatively casual, laid back. I want to say the word natural, but that doesn't quite that's not quite true, is it? Um, like I guess it's my current naturalness, but it's not how I was born. But this is my natural hair color, and eye color. I haven't gotten that surgery that makes your eyes blue. Um, like, yeah, just feeling more like myself, so I don't have to worry. Like, it's really the preoccupation that always disturbed me. It's like, oh, why am I worrying so much about how I look when I could be focusing on things that actually matter? Um, and so it is a weight, however vain, off my shoulders. Um, and so, yeah, I don't know if that is at all interesting, but it's kind of the path that I've been on so far. Um, yeah, the appearance that I've chosen to inhabit. That's really beautiful, and that's exactly right. I think when I was trying to explain in the past specific choices that I'd made in terms of my appearance, because we all cultivate to some extent how we look, you know. I was like, it felt like rather than becoming a new person, I was just becoming the person I was originally meant to be in a way. And that's always been like a thought in my mind as a guiding light as to like whether or not I make a specific decision, however big. Because, a nose job is a pretty big deal. Of course, there was like a functional reason for that. But the aesthetic, outcome was not something that was just brushed aside. It was very much considered and very intentional. And so, like, okay, I know there's a bit of stigma attached here. Excuse me. I just realized that's. There we go. Thank you for the follow. Sorry if that was loud. I realize there's a bit of stigma here. I realize it's going to be expensive. It's going to be painful. It's going to be like a bunch of recovery time. Do I really need to do this? And it was considered. Like, it was well considered. So, yeah, I think when it comes to stuff like that, the more invasive or intensive any kind of procedure is, that honesty is basically required. Otherwise, you could end up, hopefully not botched, but yeah, something along those lines, which no one wants. Droppy, welcome in. And Rascal, welcome in. I do know Ela Klein. She's absolutely beautiful, and I always delight when people compare us. I don't know if I can put us in the same sentence, but I appreciate it. We can both be pretty soft-spoken at times, so I can see the resemblance. Though it's funny sometimes when people come in, like, they're just like, oh my gosh, you look so much like insert brunette celebrity. And I'm like, oh, okay. Which is always, it's a treat because, that experience of looking someone up and being like, oh, you just compared me to like literally the most beautiful person alive. Like, thank you. And what the hell? I can't possibly deserve that. But speaking softly and carrying a big vocabulary, that's nice of you. Thank you. Yeah, I actually haven't seen like what Ela's up to, Ethan and Ela. Like, I have been away from like social media in general. And so, yeah, it's come at a price. I'm woefully under knowledgeable about the pop culture stirrings. And so, yeah, forgive me. I don't know like the who's who and the what's what, who's cool and who's not anymore. So just keep that in mind. You look like this friend of mine, Emmy Cherryfall. Really? Oh my gosh. I heard she's a total dork. Oh, that poor thing. It's quite funny. I've heard I've heard that I look a bit like Emmy Cherry 5. And, oh, gosh, she's insufferable. So, anyway, you guys are very sweet. A cute dog, yeah. That's fair. I think that basically sums me up. This channel, it's like, it's dorkiness and somehow, mostly from you guys, cuteness. But yeah, anyway. Let me Wemmy, hello. That's funny because my brother calls me Emmy Bummy and kind of sounds a bit similar. Are you my brother in disguise? Welcome in. When Emmy Blueberry 4 makes their reveal, it's over for you guys. I know. I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm just waiting to be like dethroned. Oh gosh. Yeah, it's like, you know, the fruit salad gang out there. It's like the mafia, so don't mess with La Familia type beat. Emmy Mango. There's been so many names that you guys have given me, actually. It's quite funny. It's like, it's a testament to the eternal wellspring of creativity that you guys have, and it's inspiring. If I'm like the, what's the word? Not the catalyst, but if I'm like the point that you want to be creative around, that's fine with me, you know. Speaking of fruit salad, did y'all have the Wiggles TV show in Australia? Absolutely. I, as a kid, fucking loved the Wiggles. Like, that was my shit. And I remember like going on holiday with my family, and specifically going to, like, here in Australia we have like a place in Queensland with all the theme parks and stuff where sometimes people, like actors, will dress up like specific famous characters, and the Wiggles were there, and I was so excited to meet them. Like, oh my god, it's Jeff, that sleepyhead. Yes, we absolutely had the Wiggles. And I think nowadays, they're still knocking about. Wasn't there like a female Wiggle now? That's cool. Girl power. Fruit salad, yummy type beat. You'll never get dethroned to me. You're the only cherry I need in my life. That's nice of you, Cody. There's some pretty cool cherries out there, though. Like on Twitch, I've noticed there's a bunch of cherries out there, and I always call them my kin, my brethren. Like, yeah, even sometimes in this chat, we'll get people like who have cherry in their name. So if you've got cherry in your name, automatically best friends. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. And if you have mango in your name, then even more. We're lovers. No, sorry. No, sorry. Okay. It's like Emmy try not to be thirsty challenge. Impossible. I need to tone it down. Like, watching back my old clips and stuff, that's the one like through line that, like, get your shit together, girl. So like, it's the bad thing about having no filter, or at the very least not controlling your filter, because streaming requires continuous stream of consciousness talking. Don't think, just say. The streamer brain takes over. But decorum and politeness, like, kind of vouches or vies for the opposite. Think before you speak. Be considered and thoughtful, and don't just say the first thing that pops into your head. And so those two, like, ideas are at war with each other, and more often than not, the streamer brain wins. End up saying something completely bonkers. Hence all the clips of me saying shit that you think, how did that even happen? How did we get here, essentially? Like, yeah. Like last stream, we're not even going to go down that path. I was going to title this stream Hear Me Out, but I thought, nah. That's just going to open up in that same can of worms, and I can't go back down that track, at least not right now. It's too early. It's only 11 a.m. guys, for me, on a Wednesday. But yeah, funny shit, guys, funny shit. What was I even talking about? The Wiggles? Yeah, I like the Wiggles. I feel like, I don't know, they're just a classic, wholesome, good feeling, band? Is that what you want to call them? Like, group, and a big part of my childhood. I remember watching them like as a kid and just dancing and singing along and wanting to meet, is it the dinosaur or the octopus? Henry the octopus? Yeah. Which I did get to meet like on that holiday that I was talking about. Highlight of my life, to be honest. Psychedelic Galaxy, hello, hello. I'd be a horrible streamer unless there were weirdos that liked looking at someone not saying anything. And yeah, it's true. Some people are pretty crazy out there, so you'd be surprised. Though honestly, that idea of just looking at someone, there's something to that. There is something to that. If you think about what streaming is, like, I know this is gonna get so off track so quickly, but just hear me out. Hear me out. There is an inherent voyeuristic element to streaming. And some people, like some streamers, lean into it more or less. Like you have streamers that literally just sleep on camera in tiny shorts and like, you know, crop top type beat. It's obviously for some kind of visual gratification, you know. But even if you're not doing something that explicitly, like, oh, look at me. The idea of like showing yourself and like speaking to someone in like that kind of one-way method, that's inherently kind of voyeuristic. And I wonder what that means, you know? The implications of that. And taking it to a like the next step. Someone just sitting here and not saying anything, it doesn't even sound that far-fetched, you know? Especially if they're good looking. Like, this is going to sound so fucked up, and I hope it comes across in the way that I mean it, as just a pure observation. But I think that sometimes with good looking people, and I'm not including myself in this, just so you guys know, with attractive people, I think in general, they don't often get a chance in real life, or other people don't often get a chance in real life to stare at them as shamelessly as maybe someone would while watching a stream. Does that make sense? And so there's like an inherently thrilling thing of like watching a streamer who you find attractive, knowing that you can look at them wherever and however you want, for as long as you want as well. Like, whereas if you were talking to them in person, maybe you'd be like, okay, I can't just stare at this person's mouth for like 5 minutes straight. I have to like look around. I have to look at their eyes. I have to like actually pay attention to what they're saying. The thing about watching a screen is like your eyes are free to roam. And I myself am guilty of this. I'm not going to lie. I find, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like, it's just like this, it's a curiosity thing or some level of like a decadent, undisciplined behavior. But like when I'm looking at something that I find appealing, whether it's like a nice scenery or a nice looking person, like I feel my own gaze, Gaze. It's a bit more shameless than if I was in person. Yeah, so you guys get it. I'm glad that this is coming across like somewhat correctly, because I don't mean it in an overly objectifying way, though that is literally what it is. I just mean it in a curious kind of way where it's like there's something a bit liberating about it, like your eyes getting to go wherever they want, and maybe you don't feel that level of, for me at least, social anxiety. Find it hard sometimes to look at a person in their eyes, like while I'm standing literally right in front of them, because it's so intense. But there's such a thing as like even training that skill by watching videos. However silly it may sound, it can be helpful. And yeah, there is like just freedom in being like, I'm gonna look at you. You know, like I enjoy the process of looking and having my eyes be satisfied. And yes, it is different. It is a different experience. But in terms of the viewer's point of view, I imagine there's like, yeah, that level of slight, however slight, voyeuristic kind of thrill. Because yeah, I don't feel your guys' eyes on me. I'm aware of the fact that people are looking at me, however horrifying that concept is. but it's something that you have to accept if you're going to do something like this. And of course, it informs some of the choices that I make. Like why bother doing my hair? Like if not for that idea of like wanting to look presentable or wanting to look appealing. And so it's a non-negligible consideration, if that makes sense. And then I know from my own experience as a viewer, I think it's a little bit of a little secret, private thrill sometimes. Yeah, I would say it is freeing on both sides. That's a really interesting and important like notion that you've touched on there. And it's like it sounds so obvious in a way, because like, yeah, you're watching a video, of course, but like because this feels so personal at times, you kind of forget, but still you're having this dual experience of feeling like you're really close and intimate with someone versus also having that removed viewing experience. It's poorly articulated, but I think you guys have got this one probably more than I do. And so yeah, it's interesting. And that's all to say that if someone were to stream and not say anything, depending on how they looked, I think they'd do just fine. So you never know. Psychedelic Galaxy, that might just be your calling. Though I'm sure you also have interesting things to say, should you desire speaking. Oh gosh. But yeah. I do think there are a lot of potential psychology studies that could be done on this, like in this realm, especially because it's relatively new. Maybe not new by the internet standards, like we move at the speed of light here, but in terms of like general human existence, the idea of connecting in this way is so novel. It's like, damn, I wonder how, if any, like how this is affecting people's brains, for better or for worse, as a viewer or as a streamer. Like, I'm sure there's lots of things that go on, both good and bad. And has anyone been studying that? I don't know. We need someone with a PhD in Twitch. Oh gosh. But yeah. Hillbilly Simmer, by the way, welcome in. I'm so glad to see you again, my friend. I had a bit of a break, so you didn't miss much. And this is a unusual time for me to stream, but I've been trying to find just some rhythm. So streaming at all hours just to get back into things. But yeah, it could be for the worse. I mean, I can see both arguments, I'm not gonna lie. For me, I've had such a positive experience, but I know that in general, a lot of strife and mischief has kind of, yeah, has kind of occurred, not directly because of, but at least facilitated by stuff like Twitch and social media in general. But yeah. I also think that live streaming has more room to grow as well. Like, people have been playing with the meta for a while. The shifting sands of like what's trendy or like what you can get away with. Like, that's always exciting, and people more savvy than I have their fingers on the pulse of that, on the pulse of the culture, right? But I think there's so much more, like especially with AI, like there's like all this new stuff kind of happening. It's a bit scary. I don't know how I feel about it. But yeah, it's like, it's not like we've reached critical saturation, if that makes sense. However, like people will try and convince you like, oh, streaming is so dead. It's like, no, man, it's not dead. There are people like making fuck tons of money, but even besides that, there are people like doing some really cool things on here that you would not even expect, much cooler than what I do, which is just sit here and talk about random stuff that pop into my head. People like having whole ARGs and stuff like that. They're like role playing and stuff. they're sitting in hot tubs, however you feel about that. It's like it's a medium that offers basically a blank check for creative people. Like drama is a perfect example of that. And so I know it's like a single stream where Emily doesn't mention Germa 985, but here we are. I'm a terrible stereotype. I feel like if you guys don't know Germa, he is one of the OGs, one of the legends of YouTube and streaming in general. And he's had streams where he's put on a full like production, like multi-day thing where he's acting as a sim in a real life version of The Sims where chatters can interact and like make him do stuff, change his outfits, put furniture down like the actual game. He had other streams where he put on a full-on carnival, like full-on wrestling events, and it's like he's a very creative individual, and so Twitch kind of allows him to. Twitch is like the canvas, and he's like doing all the creative painting, right? And so that's really cool to me. And I always felt equally like admiring and a little bit jealous of not just his creativity, but like his gumption in a way, like the ability to go for the bit, like without self-consciousness or without much self-consciousness. Sometimes he gets a bit flustered. But that kind of notion of like having an idea and then just fucking going for it, you know? Sometimes I start the process, I have an idea and I have faith in it. I think it's a cool idea, but I can't bring myself to be the one to enact it for whatever reason. Like maybe I feel silly about doing it myself, or I lose confidence right at the end. And it's something I'm trying to work on. But it's a weak point of mine, which I recognize. And yeah, I just feel like when I see people like that, it's motivating and inspiring, but it's also a little bit vulnerable making for me, because I'm like, yeah, that's exactly the thing that I struggle with, and seeing it executed so wonderfully in someone else is just a reminder. It feels like it highlights the contrast sometimes. But Cody, you're absolutely right, and that means a lot for you to say that. The moments where I feel like I do like just go for it fully have been some of my favorite streams, and it doesn't surprise me that they have often been streams with friends, so like my sister, for example, dressing me up and us getting into all those cosplay mischiefs, because like having someone there, if I'm about to back down or like kind of go in a bit more, not half-assed, because it's like the desire is there, but it's like the confidence isn't. If I'm about to lose confidence, to have someone to just keep the thing going is like really helpful. And so like the Marge Simpson stream, the Cat in the Hat stream, the Squidward stream, like that was almost my, and if I can say this without it sounding so cheesy, like a love letter in a way to streamers like Germa, like Ludwig, like some of the greats, because it's a tiny, tiny slice of like their vibe, but it was basically all I could do. Evil Cherry as well. Yeah, gosh. I don't know if I can ever bring back Evil Cherry. It's hard for me to be evil to you guys. I mean, you know, maybe one day. But it's like, yeah. I'm often drawn to people that I feel like have traits that I don't have, but I wish I did in a way. And that often takes the form of very funny people, very like confident but not arrogant, like someone who's just like kind of in their lane and like not bothered, if that makes sense. Especially if they're a little bit kooky and strange. Because like, yeah, it's easy to be confident when you're like this ridiculously good looking, extremely talented, rich individual. I mean, someone who's confident, even if they're not those things, like even if they're a little bit left of field, or like, you know, no matter what's going on in their lives, that they have that inner fire that just allows them to be themselves without too much of that whatever it is, the self-effacing stuff on the outside that dampens the vitality. So I see that in a lot of my crushes, you know, and not just like people like Gemma, but characters as well. Yeah, I really like kooky. I like strange. I like funny. I think honestly, the quickest way to my heart is through my funny bone. If you can make me laugh, then I'm yours utterly. Um, and it's not something that I intentionally like seek out. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I want to fall in love with every person who makes me laugh. It just happens. And like, looks, of course, like they can get you pretty far. I would be lying and I'd be remiss if I tried to say otherwise. But like, if it comes down to someone who is just simply good looking but not really funny or interesting, and someone who's like, you know, potentially less good looking, what a horrible way to describe someone, but really, really funny, like, I want to say 100% of the time, but again, trying not to go in absolutes, 99.99% of the time, like my preference will lie with someone, the person who's funny, you know, because it's like, it's a signifier to me of many things, like quick wit, a little touch of modesty if you're able to laugh at yourself, creativity, like playfulness. To me, playfulness is such an important, like hugely important trait. Like I adore that in a person. And again, it's a trait that I sometimes have, that I try to cultivate more. But in moments where I find myself just racked by self-consciousness or anxiety, I turn to people who have those traits and like want to be more like them. Someone who's okay with just, you know, being chill, I suppose. It's hard to articulate, like, what is a definition of playful? Like, how would you guys describe it? It's funny to me how this is such an important thing in my life, and yet I find it hard to describe. It's kind of one of those things where it's just sublimated into more of a feeling than an articulatable definition, you know. I feel like not taking yourself too seriously, but of course not being a pushover. Playing around with language and being curious about the world, like those things all coalesce to form just someone who I feel like is interested in life and living and me and themselves. And that's hugely important. Like, I want someone who matches my fervor and interest in all things, you know? Yeah, sarcasm and wit, they're also quite appealing to me. Though sarcasm, it's such an interesting one, because in the right condition it can be so hot, but if it feels unearned, or if it's too early, like too soon in meeting someone, the sarcasm can actually be a little bit too maybe a bit too much. And so it's almost like, you know, Dr. House. By the way, I've started watching House again, continuing from where I left off. He's got this dry wit, he's sarcastic, he's scathing, he's biting. And for the people that know him, they're like used to it, right? And so they take his comments differently to maybe someone House has just met. I feel like I can handle a bit of sarcasm once I get to know someone. But if it's just like right out the gate, it could make me feel like, oh, this person doesn't like me. I'm going to like walk away type beat, you know? And that may not even be true, like that may be just how they are. But that's kind of the vibe that I get. And so it's a very delicate balance, I think. And of course, like the competency of the sarcasm matters a lot too. Because some people, and this actually applies more to like people who say they're brutally honest. Sometimes the people who say that, they tend to revel more in the brutality of it than the honesty of it. And so it's like, okay, you can't just slap a label on yourself being a douchebag and like just expect to get away with it, you know. I think that maybe a similar thing, but potentially less so with people who say, I'm just so dry and sarcastic. Like, are you? Or are you just being a douche? Come on now. Still. Yeah, a great sense of humor is like paramount for me, because like I don't know. I just love I love the absurdity of life and living, and I love laughing, as most people do. So, yeah, tips and tricks if you want to woo the Emmy cherry. Oh gosh. And chemistry is also very important. I totally agree. Like, it's weird. Sometimes you'll like have a bunch of traits that align with someone else, but then there's just one thing that seems to be missing, and it just doesn't like come together, if that makes sense. I remember there was one time I went out with a guy who was really handsome. I thought he was super good looking. He was a guy that I had a crush on like for a while when I was in school, and so like to be going out with him was like kind of an exciting thing for me. But we went on this date and we barely talked, like, and not in the fun way. Like, we had nothing to talk about. Like, I tried to engage with him like about topics, and he would just be like giving one word answers and stuff, and I'm like, do you even like me? Like, what is happening here? And so sometimes, yeah, you can like someone for certain reasons and not others. He could have been shy, that's the thing. And I always try at least to lead with just general sense of openness and sensitivity. So I didn't necessarily begrudge him for that, but I just realized in that moment, like, this probably isn't like my style necessarily. Yeah, I'm showing you guys how to win me over. That's right. Because like there have been people that I've met like just literally the first time meeting someone, and you just like click with them instantly, and that's happened a lot on stream actually, like with streaming friends that I meet, or like going to events and stuff and like getting to know people. It probably has to do with like a shared sense of interest and stuff like that. People that you get close to like in a much shorter period of time, like than people you've met from school, for instance, and yet the connections feel potentially way deeper and more meaningful in certain ways. And so, yeah, it's a very fickle thing, like chemistry and attraction. I don't have an exact like manual for it. That would be nice. But to me, it always boils down to a very kind of simplistic perspective, which is like, do we share similar values? And do you make me laugh? It's a good start, I would say. Because you guys know me with my crushes. They've ranged from like Sans the Skeleton to fucking, who else did I say? Yeah, to like, oh God. To Heracles from Hades too. So it has to be about more than just looks, because like how can I justify Sans the Skeleton? I can't. My values, I would say my axioms very simplistically involve like that idea of maximizing pleasure and minimizing suffering, not just for myself, but for anyone that I could conceivably impact with my actions and words, It's not always possible. It's not always that cut and dry. Like, I try not to go crazy picking at every single decision in my life under that framework. Like, oh, if I buy this cake, is that maximizing pleasure for myself? But what if it's maximizing suffering for someone else? Like, what if someone else was going to buy this cake and like I got this cake, so now they can't? I try to just like basically use it as a framework, and you tend to know when it's necessary to utilize. And more broadly than that, yeah, try to avoid becoming cheaty. That's so true. I was literally going to say that, but I thought, oh, that might be too like, might be too much of an aside, but I'm glad you got that. Literally. So more broadly, like other values such as leading with openness and sensitivity, having, a keen sense of empathy for people. And it's like, it's one thing to say that you have those traits, and I'm including myself in this, but I think it's another thing to actually put those traits into practice, kind of like proving it in a way. Because I always thought to myself, like, oh yes, it's easy for me to think of myself as a good person, but have I really been tested? Like, at every point in my life, I've been acutely aware of how privileged I am. Like, I have a very stable family system that have supported me tremendously. I've got a really good group of friends who I adore and who have treated me with so much love and respect. Like, streaming has been relatively easy, you know, as easy as something like this can be. Um, I have a notoriously like positive and good feeling community. So have I really been tested? I could just be a genuinely bad person. I just never like come up to the wire in that way. And so noticing those points of friction in my life where friction, I should say, where like I have a choice to make and potentially one of those choices is a lot easier and beneficial to myself, but the other choice is maybe a bit more arduous, but actually beneficial to more than just myself. And potentially even like not harmful to myself, but like an inconvenience. I try to find those little moments of inconveniences in my life. And those moments are what I take the most seriously in terms of like kind of putting my money where my mouth is, you know? I'm not often inconvenienced. That's the truth. When it comes to things like driving someone to the airport, like the classic example, or like noticing that a friend is struggling and just like sending them a gift or going over to their house and just like hanging out. Like those moments where, you know, it's literally no skin off my nose. But it's still like a hopefully beneficial thing to someone else and involves me going a little bit out of my way. I'm happy to do that, you know? Yeah, it's crazy. Like some of the things that we take for granted, like I always come back to this feeling of gratitude whenever I'm feeling lost. Um, the first thing that I notice is that I haven't been practicing gratitude recently, and it helps me. This sounds so like woo woo and stuff, but it helps me just refocus on what the fuck is actually important, which is like how terrifically, wonderfully, potentially unfairly lucky I am, how privileged I am, just by the circumstance of like where and when I was born and to which parents, you know? And so like it's a kind of thing where I'm aware of the kind of injustice of it all and trying to instead of sitting and stewing in it and going existentially crazy, taking some of that charge and doing something with it, something hopefully productive or helpful to people. You know, if this could be considered that, if my writing could be considered that, I'm not sure. Even getting to do this is a privilege, you know, and like it's something that I've grappled with for so long, to the point where it strays into annoying melodrama, where it's like, okay, we get it. And so, because at a certain point, and I have written about this, I might actually be able to show you guys this. At a certain point, if you're freaking the fuck out about like, oh gosh, why me? Like, why do I get these privileges and other people don't? That ability to luxuriate in that misery is also a privilege. And so it's like, oh gosh, there's really no winning in that way. So at a certain point, you have to just say like, yep, this is the kind of cards I've been dealt. What am I going to do here to, I don't know, to feel good, to feel like I'm doing something worthwhile, whatever that looks like for you. Having axioms can help. What inspires good feeling for you, or like, what is that point of bliss that makes you feel like, ah, yes, this is what I was meant to be doing. This is my kind of life's work. I can't say, like, I can't tell what that is for anyone else except myself. But when I feel most naturally at ease and like things are just free flowing is when I'm writing, being creative in some way, when I'm here with you guys. And that's kind of my compass. And so, yeah, I hope that's helpful. I'm not sure. I'm going to see if I can find that little excerpt that I was talking about. Privilege. Do I know how to spell privilege? Because it's like, yeah, it could be these two. It's something that I used to write about in university. Yeah, this is it actually. Um, some of our OG friends may have heard this one before, but if you're new around here, this may be your first introduction to some of my writing. This was written a long time ago. Excuse me, my voice. What is happening? This was written a very long time ago. My actual style, I think, has kind of changed a little bit since then, but I think a lot of the sentiments remain pretty much the same. And so, if you'll indulge me, I'd like to read this because it kind of relates to what we're talking about. And it'll give us something interesting, hopefully, to look at as well. So, let me go here. This is my old website. Thank you, Cody, for reminding me. My current website, my new website, is under maintenance. It's like the hang in there cat situation right now. So there's no real difference between the two, except this one doesn't have my merch store. And it's like, I think it's less updated than the other one. So stuff like this, which has been posted ages ago, is still there. And this is one poem from a suite, which is what we say, what we like describe as a collection when it comes to poetry, for university that I did in, I think, roughly 2022, or was that just when I posted it here? I can't even remember. And I'll tell you more about what this poem is actually about after we read it, but I think you probably get the gist of things, even though it's written in kind of like a abstract, maybe a bit psychedelic kind of way too. It's called Thank You, October 2nd. Excuse me. And this is the picture that comes with it, which we'll talk about as well a bit later. You're snoring. Every time I'm tired, suddenly I'm not at all. Do I ever sleep? All I can remember is being awake, always thinking about sleeping and walking around in a dream. Nothing comes to me as easy as telling the truth. I think I was born to do it. I think once I told a lie and all my eyelashes combusted. I'm seeing the world so frantically I can't keep up with myself. Makes it hard to expect anyone to take me seriously. Who cares, I might be finite. Feels traitorous to be doing anything besides writing. Each minute a realization I'll be leaving very little behind. No DNA, no kids, nah, nothing like that. I dedicated my life to myself and my words and my lovers too much, and very early I never developed that maternal interest. Please don't recoil in disgust. Don't poke flesh for a uterus. This day I'm starting with a breath, clutching the blankets through a cough and splutter. If my lungs were balloons, I'd breathe in deep and fly a perfect line around the equator. I'd be holding my thumb out, closing one eye and pretending I was slicing the blue fruit in half. I wonder what would be inside. Lots of little seeds like a pomegranate, or maybe an orange yolk would flow out, sending citrus and membrane into our oceans. I often think to the future, because I'm naturally anxious and frustrated at our state of lagged thinking. Textbooks in posterity, if still around then, will write about us mockingly, incredulously, calling us barbarians in the same way we scoff at people from the Middle Ages. Makes you wonder, middle of what? I like Dark Ages better, seems cooler, less agitated in its glaring affront to relativity. Historians take heed, avoid words like middle, new, or old. The further we travel, the less those labels recognize us. Funny though, since we're now in the middle of the new dark old ages, the light dark ages, the techno dark ages, the embarrassing collision of advancement and decay. You'd think we'd be over this by now, that humans would grow tired of greed and prejudice. You'd think you would. There are no hours where I don't think about it. I must burn thousands of calories a day just by grieving selfishly for the world. It is petulant and glamorous to cry for humanity. It is a privileged ability, something I can do from the luxury and safety of my own quiet room. Those in real peril are less able to cry for a better world, one where kindness is possible. They are fighting every day to stay possible in the first place. When existence is fraught, idealizing is opulence. Is there any way to move through this space without being unbearably cruel? I have yet to learn. I'm scared to find out. This is really the thesis of this poem, which we'll get to in a bit. Perhaps I was born too sensitive to this world. Maybe I would have fared better on a foreign planet, where tending is tantamount to the good life and everyone speaks in little poems and nobody finds that insufferable. Maybe a foreign time where a dimpled moon filled the entire world with blue, and in the evening the sun would rise and drizzle hot lava over treetops, and then sleep came easily to everyone all at once. Creating a perfect world is an exercise in humiliation. There is no perfect world, not ever here, and certainly not in thought. Caveats come naturally to humans. They're impossible to ignore. Thinking is our drudgery and why we are so brilliant. You know that phrase, where something is described as both a blessing and a curse? We're kind of like that, but more like a blessing, a curse, and a blessing. But you make a nice recess. When your gentle hum comes rafting in, I'm almost surprised to hear it, as if earlier you'd sworn you'd never return. You've never said that, but it always feels like that. Truth on my heart, I am unbalanced without you, always missing something integral, always an insistent tongue. I don't mean to cause a commotion, but every time I am re-aware of the fact that you exist, something inside me just becomes real again. Oh, thank God, I think. Oh, God, thank God. The God I don't believe in. I whisper, thank you, God. Oh, thank you. Poems. And this is the what we just read together, but in like a image version. And for my suite of poetry, I made 10 of these, all with different shapes and like different combinations. And what I asked of my university kind of markers, the people that were marking my work, was to basically ignore the plain text and just consider that like an accessibility thing, like, and just take these pictures as what they would mark. And I did that for a few reasons. One of which is I wanted the poetry to implicate the reader in more than just like the metaphorical, if that makes sense. When I say implicate, what I mean is look at the way this is kind of drawn out. Wait, can I zoom in? I don't even know if that helped. It's not straight lines. So if you want to read this, you have to tilt your head to the side, then you have to tilt it to the other side. If you had a piece of paper in front of you, you'd have to like move it around. Like it involves you. It makes you move your body. It's not just like your eyes scanning across the page. And I wanted that involvement. I wanted that implication to make the reader almost like a co-conspirator or a collaborator in the actual poem itself. And there's a bunch of other poems that I made with like different shapes and stuff. But that was like something that was really important to me. I wanted to like create an intimacy that went beyond typical poem that you just might read in a book and put it away and never think about again. It's like, oh, what about a poem that actually makes you work for it a little bit? However egotistical or demanding that might sound. Like, not only is it like a test of, you know, a reader's patience, but it also is like a discoverer. It's not the right word, but you know what I mean, of character. Which people are willing to sit with something for a while and try to unpack it, even if it's not immediately yielding, and which people want something to be like known to them immediately. Like, it kind of, I don't know, it's a bit like a personality test in a way. And I wouldn't begrudge anyone for being like, oh, that looks too complicated for me, or like, it's too much effort. That's the point. It is effort. And so, yeah, it's like the poetic equivalent of one of those alarm clocks that wheels away, so you have to chase it around the room to turn it off. That's absolutely true. And so I'm not claiming this is like a better way of doing poetry, but I wanted it to be a more involved way to make people part of it, essentially. And so what we were talking about before in terms of like what it means to be in a position of privilege, this is really integral to me. Something I've thought about for a very long time and still think about, excuse me, to this day. Like, if I have the time and the safety and the ability to like sit in my room and be like, oh, this world is so unfair, you know, like that is literally a product of my own absolute privilege. Because like the people that are actually affected by the injustices of this world are fucking dodging bombs and like trying not to get shot at by police. You know what I mean? Like that's what I meant when I said those in real peril, like real actual genuine trouble and danger, are less able to cry out like poetically for a better world, one where kindness is possible, because they are fighting to stay possible, aka alive, in the first place. And so I recognize the irony in like what it means for someone like me, who's like my biggest issue in any given day is like what I'm gonna have for dinner, to be writing about the world and trying to like unpick its conflicts and like its troubles, you know. There's like this dark irony there that I can't escape, though it doesn't stop me from thinking about it. And so that's why with like a stanza like this, you know, it's this really almost tortured back and forth. Like, is there any way to move through the world without being unbearably cruel? I don't know. Because, like, even, like, you know, they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Even if you genuinely care about these topics, like, you could accidentally be, I don't know, not doing much to help, or even, yeah, potentially impeding any kind of help. Like, instead of writing this poem, I could have been out there fucking volunteering somewhere, or like, you know, working down at a food shelter. But this is like the thing that I am drawn to, and I guess, yeah, my contribution, however small, to this discussion. So, trust me, I know. This is what the other poems look like if you're curious. A cloud that hovers, girl delighted, while riding I'm thinking. I think that was another one I wanted to show you guys. An hour after midnight, on the pulse of the earth. So says the man, disposable watermelon. And of course, thank you, October 2nd. And I called it that because I wrote it on October 2nd. And thank you was the title. But then it kind of smushed together and sounded interesting. And I was like, okay, I'll just leave it like that. And I tried to frame it as like maybe a person thinking about all this stuff while looking fondly / jealously at someone that's sleeping next to them, who's just snoring easy as anything, like not thinking about all this random bullshit that's going on in this person's head. And it's kind of like the frame or like the brackets of this story, because they talk about it at the start and then talk about it at the end. And it's like your gentle hum, the snoring, comes rafting in. I'm almost surprised to hear it. Like, the speaker of the poem has gotten so lost in their own head that they forgot that there was like a person right next to them just sleeping. And yeah, like, truth on my heart, I am unbalanced without you, always missing something integral, always an insistent tongue. Like, tying everything up, like that existential angst, by kind of connecting it or rooting it to something quite personal and intimate and individual, which is like someone's love for another, to make all the agonizing potentially worth it. And so, yeah, thank God, the God I don't believe in. You know, it's like, it's just one of those things. Excuse me. I need to blow my nose. Why does this happen every stream? Give me one sec, guys. Typically there'd be music there. Sorry. And so this is an old poem. If I had to read to you guys a new poem of mine, I think the difference in style would be noticeable. Like, back when I was in university, I was experimenting quite heavily with like abstractness and like how much you can code a message or like couch a message in particular language, whether it's flowery or whether it's like crude, you know, like I was working in layers, and that was fun at the time. And I think it was necessary. But nowadays, my interest is more about accuracy. Like, how can I distill a message and describe it at its most essentially true core, if that makes sense. And so this, I notice as I read, is quite long. If I were to do an edit of it nowadays, it would probably be half as long, or maybe even shorter than that. Because I also did a lot of stream of consciousness writing back in university too, because I was kind of playing with that same idea of like, well, if I just write a fuck ton, eventually some of it will hopefully be kind of good. Like there's literally, I talk about it in one of those exact poems. Statistics. This one, while writing, I'm thinking the one I was about to read. Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit shorter. So this is what it looks like. It's a bit of a spiral. So again, you have to kind of turn the page and stuff like that. It's called While Writing, I'm Thinking, and it's true. I often think about this. So why do I always feel like I'm on the verge of something? It doesn't escape me. There's a precipice I'm constantly flirting with, never sure if it's transgressive or hedonistic. There's not enough shame in me some days, even when I'm nearing capacity. I'm always breathing in a little deeper, a fraction over the point of comfortable, trying to squeeze it all in. Shame is familiar in me, knows exactly where to bury itself, where to organize. Sometimes, after an unreasonable depth of tenderness, a foreign liquid will collect on the bottoms of my eyelids, and the betrayal of the anticlimax will leave me breathless. Come on, I'm thinking, is that the best you can do? No spontaneous combustion, no supernova. The thought of being written about makes me squirm. Prickles of heat erupting all over my skin, sticking the hair straight up. I know what writing can do, how it so easily eviscerates. I'm tempted to brat, the thought of anyone trying to understand my work bringing out an ugly side of me, the rawest part, the throbbing part. If someone were to generously offer an interpretation of me or my writing, no matter if it was good, bad, rapturous, sneering, I'd feel the inclination to shrug myself of it, to say, no, you did not understand me. You did not understand me at all. A simple question mark is my wishful thinking. How to be shameless, be just as important as the universe. I'll fall into the open arms of any young god that says they cannot understand me. I refuse to participate in the callous writing practices of coolness. I'd rather first die of moreness, leave something interesting to bury. To desire self-earnesty is a particular type of compulsion. Something propels you towards ruining yourself, so you do it over and over. If I had hands more agile, I'd take a chunk of marble and do to it what an impassioned artist might, all desirous and coercive. Instead, I'm astonished daily by the self-soothing inferno that writing is for me. I should be more ashamed that another writer's ultimate humiliation is my deepest pleasure. Through sheer statistics, I'm hoping someday to be accidentally brilliant. So there's a lot to unpack here. I think we just started ads as well. But there it is. This is like a notion that I've had for a long time. Through sheer statistics, hopefully if I just write enough, some of that is going to be like worthwhile in whatever way, like you define that. And noting that it might actually genuinely be another writer's humiliation to know that that's the only way they can be brilliant. But for me, it's like, I'll take whatever I can get, essentially. If that's the way, like if that's the only way for me, then I'm all for it. And so this is more or less like how I genuinely still feel to this day, despite the fact that I wrote this back in university. It says posted in 2023, but that was just when I uploaded to this website. I think, when did I graduate? I graduated in 2022. Yeah. Yeah, it's very much the infinite typewriters thing. It's so true. It's like, if for me, it takes an infinite amount of Emmy cherries typing on an infinite amount of typewriters for an infinitely long period of time. All right, I'm down. And I don't know what that speaks to. Maybe it's just like a sheer, stubborn, borderline stupid dedication to that notion of like art, deferring entirely to art, wanting to make it, to be around it, to share it, to be invested in it. Excuse me. But that idea of just trying something and brute forcing your way into being good is quite funny, you know? I like that idea. It's like, it's comical to me. And honestly, that's kind of what it means to practice at something and get better at something. But I don't know why, for me, it feels like it's almost cheating. Like, of course, if you practice at something, you're going to get better. Well, if you practice it right, you know. My guitar teacher used to say, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And I was like, you've got a point there. Because you could be practicing in a way that is potentially not the best, not helpful or not the correct technique. And so, yeah, it makes sense that perfect practice would make you get better at something. But for me, it's always felt like, oh, it's unearned, it's undeserved. Whatever it is that I'm doing right now, it feels like I've somehow cheated my way into things. And in fact, that reminds me of something I was actually talking to my therapist about, to bring it back to what we were talking about at the start of this stream. My hair. Oh, the vanity. When I was talking to my therapist, this kind of came up randomly, but something that surprised me were the words coming out of my mouth that I hadn't planned for. And I'll have to sum it up, so forgive me for paraphrasing and putting this like 2-hour session into like a sentence. But I spoke to my therapist about this annoying, creepy, pervasive feeling that I often get when I make new friends. That includes on stream as well. Where there's a part of me that feels like I've cheated my way into making a friend, or like I've tricked someone into liking me. It's a bizarre thing, and it's so hard to describe, and so you'll have to bear with me. But I tried to explain to my therapist that the reason I felt that way often was because being around words so much as a writer and knowing how important they are, how visceral they can be, how they can build someone up or tear someone down, how they can flatter or demean or degrade, I choose my words very carefully because of that exact thing. And in choosing my words carefully, it almost feels like a subtle, subconscious or conscious, I don't even know, like manipulation on my behalf whenever I'm like talking to someone, especially if I'm meeting someone for the first time. Because is that not exactly what it is? To choose your words carefully to create some certain effect, even if it's like purely, I don't know what the word is, neutral, you know. I come away from like social interactions feeling a little dirty. Like, did I say that thing because I genuinely meant it, or because I knew that it would be well received? Is there overlap between those things? If it's not a full overlap, what does that say about me? I know in a way we all do that to some extent. But I think that was kind of the reason for this feeling, which now sounds so silly, but it's like no less true. True feeling, I should say. Where like, I do feel like sometimes I've somehow cheated my way into something, whether it's good fortune or a new friendship, or like some of the blessings, the many blessings that I've been afforded through streaming or just in my daily general life. And that poem, I think, touches on that. And I wrote that so many years before I had this like kind of epiphany, which is interesting. Like through sheer statistics, I'm hoping someday to be accidentally brilliant, as if I couldn't get there on my own, or like to be purposefully brilliant. You know what I mean? I don't know why, like, I've held on to this feeling for such a long time. Because it's not productive, certainly not. It's not serving me in any way. And I hope at least that it's not true. Like, it may just be like a variant, you know, like the COVID variants. It may just be a variant of imposter syndrome. But what am I like feeling like I'm an imposter at? Being a person? That's what I don't get. Like being a friend? And if the words that I'm saying are genuine and I genuinely feel that way, why do I feel like I'm manipulating people? Because they're carefully chosen? At this point, my entire life is based on words and writing and poetry, right? And so it's like I can't not do it anymore. I can't choose my words not carefully. I mean, I can speak without a filter. I can say, I can have things come out wrong in a way that I didn't mean. But like at this point, it's like second nature for me to choose my words carefully, especially when I'm meeting someone for the first time, because I want to be, I don't want to be misunderstood. Like I want my true feelings to come across as best as they can. But still, that process of curating, isn't that exactly what manipulating is? I don't know. Does it matter about your intent? I get myself into knots when I think about this. Melodies are funny. It's like, yeah, I don't know. Also, we talked about in therapy that idea of like, okay, so I know maybe a few, I know a few words in the English language. I spent a lot of time with them. And so because of that, if I wanted to, I could choose to make them more or less flattering just depending on my own whims, right? Like, is that manipulation? And by the way, I don't really have the answers, and I don't expect anyone to have the answers, but this is just an open forum because, like, it's something that I think I've always had this, like, this fear, right? But I hadn't had, like, I didn't realize it until just recently, when I finally just blurted it out in therapy. I was like, I feel, 99% of the time, I feel like I've tricked people into liking me. And that's a horrible thing to feel. It's like, first of all, if someone said that to me, I'd be like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. I'm like, are you okay? And yet when I say it about myself, it feels so utterly true. And I know that it can't be, right? But the reason for that feeling, I think, is because of my background in word stuff, you know? Yeah, you guys have been bamboozled. Like, joking about it does help, but it's such a weird, irrational, and pervasive feeling. Like, whenever I meet someone for the first time, I get this feeling like they don't actually like me, or they like a version of me, like the version of me that I'm presenting. Even if I'm just trying to be myself, we're always kind of presenting some version of ourselves, right? Yeah, evil cherry is the truth. Let me bring out the leather jacket type beat. And so I have an example. This might not be that meaningful, but I want to get your guys' opinion. And it's also kind of niche, so bear with me. Tricking someone into liking me. Okay. I know I can't control someone's reactions, right? Like, no matter what I say or do, it's not like I can have a gun to someone's head and be like, you gotta be my friend, you know what I mean? But this is something I used to do at my retail job, working at a cafe. Should I say hospo job? And we've talked about this before, but just to like pick a relatively easy to understand example. I used to get kind of bored, like at the front desk, just like going through the same motions over and over. And I love language so much that I used to kind of get a bit playful with it and just like purposely choose the words I said to delight myself. And if someone else was delighted by that too, then that was kind of like a happy, not accident, but like, you know, an added benefit. And so, for example, when someone would say thank you to me, because like if I would hand them their coffee, right? This is their coffee. It doesn't look very safe for drinking, but here you go, here's your coffee. If they said thank you, which most people did, most people were quite polite, instead of saying you're welcome to them, oftentimes I'd say my pleasure, right? And I did that for a few reasons. First of all, I like how it sounds better, you know, like its connotations, like literally just the syllables of it. It felt more personal, it felt more warm. And also, like, there's that little like word nerd in me that recognizes that it has some certain connotations. Pleasure, it's suggestive, it's kind of a little bit like flirtatious, you know? And even if I genuinely meant it, like sometimes I think, am I saying this just to like, I don't know, be more liked? If that's even a thing, I don't think it would really change people's perspectives just by that tiny phrase. But like, try and expand that to a broader scale. Like, I don't know, picking words carefully because I know how like powerful and strong they can be. Is that manipulation? Probably to a certain extent. And it's so sad to say that it did like kind of tear me up a little bit for a while. So I'm genuinely just asking for people's opinions, whether you agree or disagree. I won't get cut about it because like it's something that, you know, I've been trying to reconcile. Like, is this okay? I mean, it's just saying words, but it's kind of the reason for it. And if I can do something like that, a small little swap like that, I mean, I think I could pretty easily expand that out to just how I talk in general, you know? If you moan right after saying okay, that's funny. I didn't go that far at my job though. Who knows? Maybe I would have gotten some more tips. But yeah, it's like, okay, on stream as well, it happens often because we end up talking about words so much. I use words like satisfying, gratifying, like delightful. Like these words have connotations, they have meanings. Sometimes they're more suggestive than others. And I use them purposefully because I like them and I prefer them. But it's not lost on me that sometimes they may create a different image in someone's head, you know? It's like I'm striving for accuracy, but I'm also like not what's the word, like ignorant of the fact that when put together these words have effects, like certain effects. And so yeah, I don't know, it could just be totally inane to worry about something so small, but I think that was the reason I always felt like I'm tricking people into liking me. If I spoke plainly, would people feel the same? If I was bland. If I was just like, hi guys, stream now, words, poem. I don't know. And so, yeah. Just some food for thought. I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say. And while you write stuff out, I'm going to check back on some of these messages that I may have missed. Jam Sauce, good morning, first time chatter. I'm glad to have you, and I quite like jam, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I think humans are also chameleonic. Great word. Code switching is absolutely a thing. We've talked about this before, like you talk to your boss differently to how you talk to your grandma, to how you talk to your friends, to how you talk to your lover. But this is kind of like, it's almost like a form of code switching that's more like on the atomic level, like than based on a person level, you know? And so, yeah, different outlooks and humor. Sometimes you just gotta blend. I think that's true. And there's something to be said about like me in that situation as a retail worker. Like you are already bound in a way to a role of service. People expect a type of demeanor from you. And my feelings at all points, more or less, were genuine. When I said stuff like that, I said, my pleasure, I hope you have a wonderful day. Like I meant it. And if I didn't like that person, then I just wouldn't say it. So it was kind of like a, screw you, I'm not going to say the nice thing that I normally would say, which is like so funny because they totally are none the wiser and absolutely don't give a fuck. But it's like this game that I play, mostly with myself, with the knowledge that like, oh, maybe someone could take it in that way, but if they do, that's up to them. I still have this like self-sustaining ecosystem where I use these words to thrill myself, and like I kind of, yeah, pass the hours by without going too crazy. But yeah. You lucked out on that genetic lottery. That's nice. I mean, it's not all natural, but I appreciate that very much. Yeah, I think that's interesting. If you couldn't see what I looked like, guys, would it have the same effect? If I was a VTuber and my VTuber avatar was like Marge Simpson. I don't know. I think the proof is in the fact that you couldn't not be playful and decadent with your language if you tried. That's also a good point. That's true. And that does make me feel better. But then I wonder, have I just created this of my own self? Like, I've done it so much now that I can't stop, you know? A context switch is absolutely what it is, you know? It's like, yeah, I could easily see the criticism being levied that it's two-faced. And that's something that I was trying to grapple with. Like, I feel as if I'm being sincere, but am I? Like, if there was a different way to say this and I choose not to say it like that, because I know this way will have more of an impact, isn't that like purposeful engineering even to some degree? I don't have a clear answer. Also, there's another coworker of mine just flying about. Fuck me. Marge Simpson is a quality woman, it's true. She's out of Homer's league. Oh gosh. This is all to say that you guys have been bamboozled and I've absolutely just tricked you into liking me. Hopefully the effects don't wear off for a while. What can I say? I do wonder if it just comes from this idea of like not wanting people to get bored of me, because that happens. It's part and parcel of being online, an online person. And so, yeah, there's a bit of ego there. And being in therapy has helped like massage out some of those knots. But it's fascinating what lies under the surface, kind of just waiting for someone to ask a well-timed, well-thought-out question, you know? So, yeah, food for thought, guys. I really don't mean it at this point. Like, I don't mean to be intentionally manipulative or provocative if I say something like, oh, my pleasure. Who's to say? I respect the hustle. I don't know, like, how much of it is performance and how much of it is just who I am, you know? I would argue that this is exactly how I am offline, though I guess only people who've met me can vouch for that, so. Yeah. Yeah, it's possible that I'm just reading too much into it. It's true. But I think a level of sensitivity is helpful, you know? Like, it's obviously everything in moderation, but it can be kind of overlooked sometimes. And there's room, trust me, there's room for strength and softness equally. You sit there and try to entertain us with wordplay and philosophy. How devious. The audacity of puns and insight, outrageous. That's sweet of you. I don't know. It's just like one of those silly things. Like, it's probably because I realize how important words are or what they can do. Like, I don't take them lightly. Maybe if I were less of a word nerd, I would kind of just bandy them about. Like, it's no big deal. But yeah, Trust me, I know like words can be they can be brutal, you know? Anyone who's been bullied before can attest to that. Like verbally or whatever, cyberbullied. Anyone who's ever like had a horrible boss that demeans them or like a unfortunate family situation. So, yeah. And those of you out there who aren't as affected, that's wonderful. Still though, I think it's worth paying attention to. Anyone who doubts the power of words has never been hit in the face with a rolled up newspaper. True. I feel like that's becoming rare nowadays. You know, newspapers aren't as ubiquitous as they once were. So if you get hit in the face with one, it means you really must have screwed up. That's funny though. Yeah, I guess I'll keep you guys posted. I do want to get rid of that feeling. That feeling like I've somehow cheated my way into something, you know? Like, it's not a nice feeling. I don't even think it's necessarily warranted or true. And yet, how can you know something's not true but also feel like it is? This is a constant battle. The logical brain versus the emotional brain, and they're just not playing nice. Like cats and dogs. And so, yeah. A rolled up iPad would probably hurt even worse. I agree. I think that's very fair. Still. Oh, gosh. Gosh. This isn't meant to be a therapy session, by the way. I hope it's, like, fine to talk about this stuff. You know, I want you guys to, like, see a peek into my brain, and you'll realize why I say it's so insufferable. Like, it is truly sometimes just a fun house, mirror house, get me out of here type beat. But yeah. Let's not worry about words. All I do is worry about words. I know. It's like Oscar Wilde said, everything in moderation, including moderation. Though for me that is like one of the hardest things to do. I'm constantly in flux, kind of like oscillating between extremes, hoping to find the middle ground, but it's like, dang, why is it so hard? You know? And I don't think it's a crime necessarily to be thoughtful. When it tips into rumination, that can be a problem. But yeah, to just brush everything aside, I think that's potentially unwise. Like, to be thoughtful and sensitive, these are not weaknesses by any stretch of the imagination. It's only when something becomes like harmful or detrimental to yourself or others that it becomes a problem. Yeah, it is blasphemous. I agree. Melodies. I have not been to Japan, and yes, the culture around, I think it's saving face, if I'm not mistaken, is quite established and ingrained and profound there. It's similar to what I'm talking about, but instead of like rituals and stuff, like having to deny a gift 3 times before you can like politely accept, for me it's like, it's more about like, how can I tell if I'm genuinely saying this because I mean it or because I know that it'll be well received? And what happens if the thing that I know that will be well received, for some reason I can't even say that sentence, is also how I feel? Is that just a lucky coincidence, or am I just deluding myself? I don't know. I wish I had more concrete examples to give, but the my pleasure one is just the most basic, like simple example, but it happened all the time, you know? I'm trying to think. Okay, let me really dig deep, because I want to give a better example. Thinking music. Do do do. Do 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 do. Yeah, kind of like stressing out over, yeah, something like giving a gift, but also like giving the gift of language, you know? Um, hmm. Nui Dewey and Punch Drinker, hello. I'm trying not to crash out right now as my mind whirls. Um, it's true, Melodies. The desire to be accepted is a normal impulse, and I don't think it's necessarily wrong or transgressive to strive towards that or attempt to attain that. Um, but I'm also really interested in like what that idea of authenticity means. Like, who are you at your core? Is there a like straightforward answer? Is it a like confluence of all things? Is it like a series of adjectives, an image? And I'm genuinely asking. I'd love to know what you guys think. Like, who are you at your most you-ness? Because for me, without my words and the particular way that they are ordered and picked, I'm not sure. People still like me without these words? It sounds silly to say out loud. And of course, I know logically that it's almost an impossible thing to answer. It's not how people really work. But what I'm attempting to reach is slightly adjacent to that. It's more like, who am I? Existential crisis. Crashing out. Hmm. Who are you? Where did you come from? Where did you go? And where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? These are the mysteries that keep me up at night. And I guess it is our life's work to figure that stuff out, right? It's a work in progress, constantly changing and evolving. Maybe if someone had asked you, like 7 years ago, who are you? You probably would have had a different answer to whatever you might want to answer today, for example. For me, like, the word streamer was not even in my vocabulary back then. I didn't even know what the hell that meant. Streamer. Someone who goes into a stream. Like a lake. And does what? And that's like the most surface level thing of like the who are you answer. It's like, okay, I'm a girl, a brunette, a writer, a daughter. Like, these are labels that are helpful. But are they getting any closer? I don't know. Again, there is no real answer to this. They're just like musings. And writing does help, actually. Sometimes, if you can't get directly to an answer, you can kind of write around it and somehow feel like you've done something productive. Or at the very least, scratch the itch. And so when it comes to like these poems, for instance, they helped scratch that itch. A lot of this existential angst type beat was when I was in university and these thoughts were kind of circling, and I felt like I was circling the drain because I wasn't getting anywhere, right? But then writing out something like this, it's like finding an answer in the negative, as in not like negative sentiment, like pessimistic, but a negative Polaroid type beat. You know what I mean? You're writing around something to sketch out the shape because you can't directly approach it or see it. Yes, I would agree that the concept of the self is a very fragile thing, Melodies. It's something that I talked to my therapist about because she was asking me like, who are you without your words? Who are you without the things that you've surrounded your life with? And I was like, does anyone know the answer to that? Like, how do we define ourselves if not through like what we do and who we choose to spend time with? And she was like, oh, I don't know. Just something to think about. And so, yeah, she kind of stumped me there. I'm not gonna lie. She stumped me. So I was like, do other people have answers to that? Like, who are you if you're not you? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know, man. Dang, this is getting like intense. Sorry, I'm trying to find the rest of the suite. Yeah, who are you if you're another person? Exactly. She wasn't trying to be, like, what's the word? Smarmy or anything. She was just genuinely asking. And I was like, oh, I don't know. Do people think about this? How do people define themselves if not by if not by the world in which they live and through like their relative understanding of it and the people in it? But yeah. Psychedelic Galaxy, thank you so much for stopping by. Crashing through the mirror, infinite reflections fall like daggers, but they're just parts and pieces of just you. That's beautiful. I hope to see you or read you again soon. And take care for Meow. I certainly will. Thank you very much. That's quite funny. I like the word meow. It's a good word. The smoke bomb. A lot of people turn to religion to answer who they are. That's so true. And it's interesting how, like, I didn't even mention that. But it's absolutely part of the discussion. Sora, welcome in. Like, I'm personally not religious. I'm an agnostic atheist, which sometimes I shudder to mention because it starts shit every time. But for context, I'm not a religious person. And so I can see why people would turn to it for a sense of direction or a sense of community or like a sense of like, I can just not think about this stuff, essentially. Do you know what I mean? Like, because my grandma, my maternal grandma, is highly religious, deeply religious. And she's so old at this point, it's like, we're not going to try and convince her or anything to think any differently. She's Greek Orthodox, and that's that. She's 91 at this point. 91 or 92? Anyway, she sometimes to like appease her, I guess, we do go to church, like for the holidays, for Easter and stuff. And when I go there, I feel this weird sense of like community or belonging, even though I'm not like practicing. I can feel the same warmth and like that idea of being around so many people. It's like, it's nice. And I can see how someone potentially, you know, who's a bit lost or a bit lonely or who feels like they have no direction could find solace in something like religion. Even just the traditions, the less harmful ones, can be kind of nice, you know, to have something that lasts and connects you to a lineage of people. For me, I can see it's like it's draws to some people. Yes, Greek Orthodox, that's right. Welcome in. But because of my own like understanding of the world, like I could never really kind of fall into that myself. I remember when I was younger, I was kind of brought up religious, but like literally as soon as my brain kind of turned online, I was like, hang on a minute. This doesn't sound compelling to me. And so I was like probably 10 or so when I realized I was like agnostic. Kalimera. Yeah, sorete canis. And so yes, it is an opinion. That's right. I also tend to specify agnostic atheist because I typically would say that I just defer to the question mark. I can't know for sure. But if I had to pick, I would lean towards not, you know, not believing. So still, I have many religious friends and we get on more or less. I've had some friendships kind of grow apart because of differing opinions in that way, but not in a malicious way, you know, like just in a way where it's like, oh, we have different opinions and that's okay. Yeah, I do believe in Santa though. He is real. It's true. Who else puts the presents under the tree? You're Greek too, Valiant. That's wonderful. Yeah, poetry. I mean, there's a really rich, like, poetic, like, what's the word? Culture? No, like history in Greece. And I just kind of do wish that I'd stuck with my Greek school training, even though I fucking hated it at the time. Like, it was torture for me to go to Greek school on a Saturday every week because I felt so dumb. And I was like in a year below my actual year because I was starting like kind of older than everyone else. The teachers were like a bit unforgiving. The kids were like, I don't know, they just saw this random kid that's like way older than them and like, why are you in this class? Anyway, I hated it. And I also just hated going to school on Saturday. And so myself and my siblings, we like begged and pleaded our parents to stop taking us to Greek school. And so they eventually relented. But it would be nice to know more Greek. I can essentially have the most basic of basic conversations with my grandma. And she's always telling me to learn Greek, but you know, yeah. My grandpa, my maternal grandpa, who's no longer with us, he basically was the poet in the family, which I didn't even realize until after he passed away. And because I obviously like poetry very much, I write it and I talk about it a lot. No one else in my family gives a single fuck. Literally, like, I was wondering, like, where did I get this interest from? Like, sure, it's like nature versus nurture type beat and just circumstantial. But apparently my grandpa was really big into writing and he wrote many, many stories and poems in Greek, some of which I had translated, but most of them I need like a translator to do it because it's pretty like involved stuff. And so, yeah, it's nice and I would like to one day share it with you guys, but I don't know if I'd be able to get through it without just bursting into tears because it's like really meaningful to me. And the stuff that he wrote about from the few translated poems that I read were quite typical of the time and like the generation, like the immigrants coming to Australia from Greece. They wrote a lot about their homesickness and like that feeling of nostalgia for a time and place that they can't get back. And so they're fucking good poems as well. And like, yeah, it's a shame that there's only a couple that I've been able to actually read because he wrote a lot. So if I can like somehow get through it without becoming a nervous wreck, I would love to share with you guys. Because it's wonderful stuff and it's part of like the cultural consciousness at the time. It adds to that historical context of immigrant poetry. Like, it's a thing. And I think that's really cool. It's like a piece of history. A lot of it, though, is just scattered in amongst random papers and books of his, written in like these, yeah, just loose leaf and stuffed in hastily to folders and stuff. So I have to find it all. Greek and English, that's right. Well, Greek and Egyptian and English. For the longest time, I thought I hated poetry. It turns out I actually just hate rigid rhyming schemes. Oh, yes, it's so true, right? And this is a gripe that I have with like modern, like high school classes and even primary school classes that attempt to teach poetry or like show people poetry for the first time. It's already a relatively dying art. People already don't give a fuck about it. So why on earth would teachers like just thrust forward some dry text that takes like a fucking PhD to understand? Like, these kids, like, start them off easy, you know? Start them off with something maybe a little bit transgressive, maybe a little bit modern, maybe a little bit unexpected to actually pique their interest. Don't shove them like... Shakespeare is a classic one that everyone always comes back to. I think Shakespeare has his moments. I personally love him. But I don't know if, like, it's the right first thing as an introductory text when it needs like a fucking separate book to translate what you're actually reading. You're already asking a lot of a like student, you know? Like throw in some cool stuff, like throw in some experimental fringe poetry. Throw in some stuff that people will make you like people will do a double take about and ask, wait, what? That's a poem? How is that a poem? Like for instance, I brought this up before I think, but this was a lecturer that actually was teaching at my university while I was there, which I thought was so cool, though I never got to actually go into one of his classes. But there is a poet out there who literally like somehow mapped a poem and like translated it into the DNA letters, like what is it, A T G C or whatever it's called. I'm not like a biology person. Somehow made a code that switches like the regular English alphabet into like the DNA 4 letters, and then injected that into a cell, and then had that cell start replicating itself so that it would make its own poem. This is real, by the way. This is not sci-fi. This is real. Why aren't we talking about that in classes to make kids go, what the hell? Are you serious? No way. Instead of just being like, here's some dry ass poetry about a leaf. You know, it's like we're fighting an uphill battle. We need to take whatever like wins we can here, you know, to rile kids up and get them actually interested in this topic. And so yeah, even something that just explores the use of language a bit. I totally agree. I haven't read an infinite number of occasional tables, but just something like a little bit strange, a little bit kooky, something that diverges a little bit from the canon. Like, I don't know. There's a place for the canon, but yeah, here's a poem, it rhymes. Back in the day when like the rhyming scheme like style was really popular, it was actually seen as a clout thing, how well you could rhyme your couplets essentially. So especially if it was like a relatively like hard word to rhyme, if that makes sense. And so people would actually do that to flex on each other, to be like, oh, look how clever I am that I can think of a sentence that will end up resolving itself in the next line by rhyming at the end. And so for a long time, people were just like having a dick measuring contest by writing poems like that with rhyming couplets one after another, as well as, you know, the various other things about like rhyming poetry that people liked, right? Eventually, though, people were like, oh, we're kind of sick of this. How about we do something else? You know? And so that's why for the longest time, there was that kind of prevalence of rhyming poetry, because it was a status symbol, essentially. It showed how witty and clever you were, and people were, yeah, essentially trying to one-up each other as well. So I don't know if that context even helps, but yeah, and it's true, like, sometimes poetry in school was just about rote memorization, which was like, okay, great. This is the best way to scare people off poetry. Making it a chore. Making it something you have to memorize. Like, what the fuck? It's just disappointing because I personally know how invigorating, how decadent, pleasurable poetry can be. We're not giving it, like, a fair shot in my eyes. And there was a like kind of a modern resurgence with like the Instagram poets of the day, and I have a whole like, oh god, a whole set of opinions on that, but it's multifaceted, guys. It's multifaceted. Because I try genuinely at all times to move with sensitivity and openness through this world, but I'm tested, I'll say, when I read some of that Instagram poetry by a specific poet that I'm thinking of. Oh, God. And I'm like, this is what people are growing up and thinking that poetry is. I'll show you an example. Now, this is a meme, but it speaks to this particular gripe that I have. So if you can't read it, it says, I was pearl milk tea, but you said you were lactose intolerant. And then the one next to it is a bit more crass. It says, I'm lactose intolerant, but I drink pearl milk tea, so I shit. Okay, now I don't mean to make fun of the Instagram poets, because let's just come out with it. I'm going to name drop right now. Someone like Rupi Kaur, right? I don't like Rupi Kaur's writing. I'm just going to say it. Though, to be fair, who the fuck am I? I'm a literal nobody, and Rupi Kaur has made millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And just because I don't like her writing doesn't mean that I don't recognize how it does have its own benefits. Because her work, her book, whatever it was, Milk and Honey, was such a fucking random-ass blockbuster that it actually did introduce a new generation of people, like young adults, to poetry. I could never begrudge that, you know? Like, my whole, like, you know, my whole campaign here is to do with getting more people into poetry. So if that involves a poet and a poetic style that I don't particularly like, who cares, you know? It's just one of those things where I kind of just have to grin and bear it. And I do think, like, you know, my perspective often involves just, like, being open-minded, you know? So, if you haven't read Rupi Kaur's work, it's basically in the style of what we just saw together. And they're actually in this thing here. Whoops. In this little, like, mock-up here, they're making fun of her style particularly. It's like the same line art drawings and the same kind of lineation with the, you know, one word per line situation. So if I type in Rupi Kaur, I'm not going to cherry pick. I'm just going to pick one at random, and you guys can tell me what you think. Here. The irony of loneliness is we all feel it at the same time. Okay. Short and sweet. What about this one? I get so lost in where I want to go, I forget that the place I'm in is already quite magical. Fortune cookie poetry. Fuck me dead. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I have no words. That literally sums it up. And I'm ultimately glad that, you know, if this was the gateway drug into further poetic research, like, that's perfect, you know? But if a person's, like, full conceptualization of poetry, like, begins and ends at Rupi Kaur, I think that's regrettable, you know? Don't mistake salt for sugar. If he wants to be with you, he will. It's that simple. Now, I just typed in Rupi Kaur poetry. I didn't type in best or worst. Like, this is just like a random smattering of her work. Oh my god. It was as though someone had slid ice cubes down the back of my shirt, titled The Orgasm. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Come on. First of all, like, is that really how it felt? Is that... Okay, there's so much to unpack here, and I'm actually getting riled up now, but, like, in a bad way. Calm down, Emmy. Calm down. This is why I don't like her work. Because you can be short You can be succinct in your writing. You can talk about transgressive things, but at least have it make actual sense. Like, is that what an orgasm feels like? Ice cubes down the back of your shirt? I feel like an orgasm is the opposite of cold. Like, do you know what I mean? Melodies, you fucking kill me. Not using the imagery of wet marble when creating a sexually charged poem. Oh, that's so funny. But, like, you guys get what I mean? It's not any of the one, like, particular things that she's doing that makes it kind of, you know, bad to me. It's like, it's all of it put together. It's all of it put together. AI description. That's fucking funny. Yeah, an explosion from the head to the toe. I totally agree. It's not like ice cubes down the back of your shirt. Sorry. Sorry, guys. I'm getting too worked up. Clearly, I'm passionate about this topic. And as someone who writes horny poetry, it's like, bruh, how could you be so far off the actual thing? Have you had an orgasm before? Sorry, no, that's wrong. Maybe she's trying to explain that it's like shocking. Like, I don't know. The back of your shirt? I think they may be doing it wrong. The back of your shirt. You know what I mean? Like, okay, no, I'm actually getting genuinely mad right now. I have to calm the fuck down. Okay, different poem. Oh, why are these so small? Okay. The love of family, friends, and community is just as potent as the love of a romantic relationship. Yeah. Did that make you guys feel anything? At all? Did it tell you something that you didn't already know? Did the lineation make a difference? Did the illustration make a difference? Oh God, guys, this is what we have to deal with. Oh God. Like, on the one hand, we have teachers trying to, like, get kids to give a fuck about Shakespeare. On the other hand, we have Rupi Kaur talking about ice cubes. I have to say, fortune cookie poetry, it's so harsh, but it's so accurate. And I try not to be harsh, but it's... Okay. It's a statement on paper. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I swear I'm not usually like this. Like, I don't mean to just, like, bash one particular writer. The only reason I'm focusing on Rupi Kaur is because her book Milk and Honey sold millions of copies. Like, literally. It is one of the most popular modern poetry books that there is. And I think if you get that rich and famous, hopefully your work can hold up to scrutiny, you know? That one would be better if it rhymed. That's so funny. It's like, just give us anything. Like, this is the equivalent of Go Girl, Give Us Nothing. You know, Dua Lipa doing that dance. This is literally giving us nothing. Because first of all, who doesn't think this? Who thinks, oh, yeah, romantic relationship, that is way more potent than the love of my family and friends and my community? Does anyone think that in earnest? Like, I just feel like, I don't know. It's, yeah. It's insulting, to be honest. A series of aphorisms to help aliens blend into human society. Literally. And by the way, the book is so thick, like, for a poetry book. It's like, because each poem is like 5 lines and could have been an email type beat. I just feel bad because, like, you know, she obviously is passionate about poetry, and she does have longer poems. Like, there's poems that go on for multiple pages. So I'm going to try and, like, actually be fair. And you know what's fucked up? I actually have her book because one time I got it as a birthday present, and I didn't have the heart to tell the person that I didn't like the book. I already knew of it, and so it was a reason I hadn't bought it. So I genuinely have the book, but I can't really say what I used it for. Well, I can say. It's a little harsh, but I basically just have used it to make my own poetry by turning it into blackout poetry. So I can go and grab it if you guys want. Gosh, I'm literally out of focus. Always out of focus. I am a writer, yes. As a career and as a hobby, as both. I guess Twitch is my career right now. And yeah, I have an honors degree in creative writing. So that gives me the right to just bash this poor writer's work. But I'm just like trying to explain, like, there's so much out there in terms of poetry. Literally, whatever flavor you're after, it exists. And I find it unfortunate how we're losing the campaign when it comes to making people give a fuck about it, especially our young adults of the world. Quantity over quality, I would agree with that, unfortunately. It's poetry for the same audience who think the art of war was shocking to their worldview because it says things like, remember to feed your troops. Oh, fuck. You guys are too funny. You guys are so naughty. Yeah. Poetry is awesome. I agree. Aquil, do you write poetry? A few Grammy noms, nothing too crazy, nothing to see here. Now, because I just bashed Ruby Kaur's work, I should probably put my money where my mouth is and show you guys one of my own works, and potentially one that's just as short, so I can, like, basically not cherry pick. So, there's a haiku count. This is my website. Oh, and by the way, I think it was Wugga checking out the merch. I do have merch, but my normal website is down right now, so I don't think it's gonna work, unfortunately. But it was nice of you to check it out. This is my old website, but it's still got my work on here. So, oh, Achilles, thank you for the correction. I appreciate that. What kind of poetry do you write? You're the best. You're the world's best poet. Oh, tell me more. This is a haiku that I wrote. And, because we were looking at Rupi Kaur's work, who was like 5 lines-ish. This is 3 lines. So, you get on a plane. We went so hard the pilot calls it turbulence. I don't know. Does that make you feel anything? And you don't have to butter me up, by the way. Pretend this is like something you just saw randomly online without any knowledge of where it came from. Because I feel like I could make a compelling argument for why it stands on its own, like how its existence is justified, right? I feel like I could make a compelling case. But because it is my own work, I feel like maybe I have a conflict of interest there. So, this is an example of a short poem. It's a haiku, which means it's got 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables, right? But if you want a short poem that's not a haiku, I'll have to find one. Maybe even talks about similar topics. And it doesn't rhyme. Points off, it doesn't rhyme. So true. Some blackout poetry. Giving you guys a little tour of my website. I'm trying to find something. Yeah, maybe something like this. It's 2 lines, even shorter. For better or for worse, I hope you have the day that you deserve. Like, at least there's something happening there, you know? Because it's implying, like, at a first glance, it may seem like a nice thing to say, but it could also be an underhanded, like, kind of insult, you know? So at least there's, like, some level of dimension and texture there, as opposed to just being like, friends and family are good. Ding! You know what I mean? Like, no shit. Sorry. I just can't get over the Ice Cube thing. I'm seriously like, oh my god, I just can't. I mean, never in a million years have I thought about describing an orgasm as ice cubes down the back of my shirt, okay? Not even the front, where it might be kind of like a bit exciting and like the sensory experience. Like, our back is not as like... Sorry. Did they write that when the ice bucket challenge was a thing? Were they into it? Yeah, I think so. Like, the only interpretation that I can come up with is if she's trying to describe an orgasm in a purposefully transgressive way. Like, almost implying something that's a surprise or something that's unwarranted, and if so, that's kind of dark. Like, is that the interpretation she wants us to come away with? Or is she trying to go for something, oh, like Cosmo, like sexy, I don't know, sensory temperature, like, play? Because if she was going for the latter, what the fuck? Literally, it makes me think that this person has never had one before. Though I'm sure, like, she's a grown woman. Like, I'm sure she, you know. Sorry, just dealing with the co-host. Yeah, so if I had to be extremely charitable, yeah, and give it the benefit of the doubt, if I had to be extremely charitable, I would say that she is being purposefully transgressive, and I love that actually in writing. I'm no stranger to transgressive works. Like, one of my favorite genres is like the gothic fiction, or like gothic stories in general. And that involves a whole bunch of transgressive shit, you know? Stuff that would make people like blush and fall onto their fainting couch. So if she's trying to be transgressive and describe an orgasm as something that like happened by surprise, that was unexpected, that like was not necessarily warranted, because she said someone she doesn't even know putting an ice cube down her shirt, like, that's not necessarily a pleasurable experience. So what is she implying? Something much darker there? If she is, I think it was handled a little bit poorly, because like you really have to dig deep to get that interpretation. Or if she was just simply trying to come up with something kind of, like sexy and flirty and like a bit unusual. Ice cubes, they're like interesting, and the temperature like makes it stand out. It's like, bro, please just have an orgasm and get back to me. Sorry. It's like, file that away like under things you shouldn't say. Sorry. I don't make it easy for myself, do I? Oh god, there I am. Visibly says, I'm excited to eventually yeet a copy of Always Tabitha at you. I mean, I swear we've talked about this before. Irritatingly, that means I've actually got to finish writing the damn thing. Oh yes, but transgressive in terms of expectations and presentations and trope deconstruction. I live for that stuff. Me too. It's one of my favorite things, because like, it's kind of like, you know, I've been around the block at this point. I know typically what regular stories entail and how they move, like the narrative arcs and stuff. I want something different and bold and daring, a little bit wrong. You know what I mean? Like, we talked about this before in typical like movies and TV shows where there's like a love triangle. Like, that is so overdone at this point, you know? Oh, there's two really hot people that both want me, and I both want and I want them both too, and they also kind of both want each other. How can we possibly resolve this? I can think of one very easy solution to that, to be honest. What did I say last time? Have a threesome, you cowards. Yeah, it's a throuple with extra steps. But why does every single show insist on a fucking what is it called? Not a three-way. A love triangle. Yeah, tailoring session in Paris. Oh god, Melodies, you'll be the death of me. Like, literally, we've all seen the love triangle at this point. Actually do something kind of interesting and like have them all just like have a three-way kiss, maybe. Like, that's my personal directorial notes. I'm just sick of it, guys. Like, no one is like making anything bold anymore. They're so safe. Like, oh, we can't offend people if we show a three-way kiss. So, yeah. I have not seen Chasing Amy, but if it has a three-way in it, then sign me up. Like, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of the movies that I watch, I can almost always guess what's going to happen at the end. Or I can always guess who's going to end up with who. Or like what story beats are about to unfold. And so when I see a movie that actually surprises me in that way, I'm like, oh, okay. You're actually trying something different, you know? Human centipede. You know what? Respect. Respect. Seriously. Now, what I was looking for in scrolling aimlessly that whole time was, actually, this could be the one. You know how we like read the Rupi Kaur version of what an orgasm is meant to feel like? Well, I know firsthand that I've written a bunch of like horny poetry, and like, have I explicitly written that singularly about an orgasm? I don't really know. I've been trying to find something to compare it to. And it might be this one, even though it's only briefly mentioned. And it needs like some introduction, which is kind of silly. I have one more quick check. Chasing Amy is Kevin Smith's third movie. Oh, it's why Alan Rickman wanted to be in Dogma. Oh, interesting. Yes, rest in peace to Alan Rickman. I totally agree. What an incredible actor. An incredible man in general. When I went to that antique store yesterday, one where I got this from, I saw a book that was meant to be Alan Rickman's diary, and I was about to buy it, but I don't know, I didn't end up doing it. Well, I guess with this one, the fucking, you know, the Pearl, this infamous poem. Oh wait, the Elvis one. This is more about like other people's ecstatic experiences. Rupi Kaur was talking about her own, and I'm like, have I written something like that? I mean, almost certainly, but I can't remember off the top of my head. You can write a not expected description of an activity or sensation, but, and this is important, it still needs to describe that sensation. Yes, I agree. Like, literally. I'm sorry. I should not be getting this riled up. I know it's like not that deep, but it's just because like, it's just because an orgasm is like such a human, like human-wide experience that most people have experienced at least some point in their lives. And oh my god, I don't think I've ever heard anyone describe it as ice and cold, like ice blocks. You know what I mean? Like, it's literally the exact opposite. That's what she said. Sequoia, hello. Bonjour. I'm sorry. I'm crashing out. The stream says you crash out, you lose. Wait, let me check how many photos have been transferred. 16,402. That's literally not that much. What the fuck? Shivery sweet like fingertips all over pure joy. That is literally a much better poem than what Rupi Kaur wrote. Like, that already gave me so much more of like a visceral, like, description, you know? Fuck. Even shivery, like maybe she was going for shivery when she said the ice cube thing, you know? But why ice blocks? I'm literally offended. God. Yeah. I do wonder about her process, her creative process. Maybe I should look more into it, you know? Maybe this is a good... If we're going to, like, discuss erotic poetry, like, fuck, this is a whole class in itself, but, you know. Okay, let's read this one together. And yeah, visibly you're right. I don't know what it is with this this phone. It's like so slow. I don't know why. This is, well, a poem. I'll read it first and then I'll get you guys to maybe share what you think it's about. It's called Loose Loving. I wrote this for your boy Elu, a fellow streamer. So, I've requested help from all the world's rivers, oceans, and beaches to supplement this terrible sweetness, this shot through barrel swiftly losing liquid. Through all this loving lucid, the wetness winding into a sigh, these spiraling circles of desire. How is it to be doused but still unbearably on fire? So it's like, there's implication here, right? It's like, there's words that even if you don't necessarily know what it's talking about, they lend themselves to erotic interpretation. You've got sweetness, wetness, desire, circles, being on fire, and sighing, you know? So it's like, you don't even have to explicitly, like, point out, this is describing da-da-da-da, you know? It's like, you can talk around the subject, and in that way, it can almost be more erotic, because it's like doing the same thing. It's like a metatextual element. The text is teasing you in the same way that, you know, like a lover might tease someone, or, you know, someone just by themselves. Yeah, deep, hungry, intense. Those are fantastic words. Like, you don't need to just be like, ice cubes. Sorry. Sorry. It's like, it's not cool. It's not cool. And this is actually explicitly about that very thing, and this is something that I submitted for school, second year uni. I had to read this out to the class, and then someone put their hand up after I read it out, and I'm like, is this about masturbation? And I was like, ding. Maybe, yes, no, maybe, whatever you think it's about, you know, that's what it's about. But yeah, kind of is. I mean, the title gives it away, A Little Death, which is like a euphemism for an orgasm. So this is literally like the same title as Rupi Kaur's poem, okay? Now, I want you to just take this in and let the words wash over you. It doesn't even have to necessarily make sense. Just like try and get a feel for what it's saying. So, a pink ruby is not an emerald. It's a heat wave, and all the peaches have melted. I'm pushing daisies out of my front door. I do not forgive them, so they cease to threaten. It's time to appreciate the ghosts in my room. As time goes on, I know more will accrue. I'd consider love in a vacuum, but my interest becomes inarticulate. No concerns worth sharing, I agree. The ghost situation is unfortunate. But until you find me a closer way to meet God in a thick jeweled juncture, the sloppy marsh the peaches will make, the ghosts and rubies must accumulate. So, again, it's abstract. It's not like necessarily giving up the game straight away, but you can tell that it's about something suggestive just through the words that are used. Like, you know, ice cubes. Especially the last stanza. thick jewel juncture. I think the teacher commented on that and I was like, thanks. Slowly hides burning face behind notebook. Exactly what I did. You know, it's like, I don't know, just you could be so much more creative because like this topic is one of the richest topics that you could potentially write about. So it's just like so lazy to be like, Ice Cube. Fuck me dead. Okay. Anyway, I'm sure you guys get the picture. Not all of my poetry is horny. I know that a lot of it is, but yeah. Sometimes it's sad. Sometimes it's sad, baby. This most recent one, this is like, I don't even know if people really care, but it was a continuation of a series of poems that I was writing about extremers, I suppose. This one was meant to be about XQC, hence the title XYZ. Also, XYZ is a, like, it's a phrase that I use a lot to mean insert example here. So I'm like, you know, if you want to have a chocolate cake or a cake made out of XYZ, I use that term all the time because I often can't think of the exact word that I'm looking for when I'm talking. It happens like 100 times a stream. And so I thought, okay, this might be interesting to use that term to mean a word, like a placeholder word for something else, and also how it kind of rhymes with XQC, right? XYZ. And so we wrote this poem kind of together on stream. I was like, how could I imbue this poem with some of the essence of the person that I'm writing about? And so we ended up going with the no spaces look because he's kind of notorious for speaking really quickly. So trying to like smush everything together as if it's all said in like one breath, you know? And then we also used a couple of memes that he's known for. So there's a meme where he goes dark. Apparently there's a meme where he despairs. And then referencing the fact that he's a streamer. And then the final line is where you get kind of like the punchline. So I'm going to read it to you and then we'll talk about what that punchline potentially means. So, XYZ. The boy goes dark, the boy despairs, but he's in there somewhere, I know he's there. The boy is a mimetic dream, his consciousness a constant stream. Honestly, I'd like if he could XYZ all over me. So it's like, it does rhyme actually. There's a lot of E rhymes. So there's assonance in there, rhyming of vowel sounds, and internal rhymes. So when it like rhymes but not at the end, exact end of a line. And so the XYZ in that last line is meant to be replacing a different word. But through inference, I think most people could probably figure out what that word is. Because it's like, what else could someone do all over someone else? You know, like, it's also quite fitting, I think, that it's almost operating as a set of asterisks. You know, when like you have a censored word and the amount of asterisks equals how many letters are in it, like that is similar to what the XYZ is doing in that line too. So it's like, oh, it's actually talking about something quite raunchy, but it's like disguised, wrapped up in a nice pretty bow. And that's the fun part. You get to like be kind of talking in a code or like a layering of different messages. And yes, there absolutely is a sliding scale of horny words that could be used there. Personally, I have my own interpretation that just brings me the most delight to think about. But I would never say to anyone like, oh no, that's wrong, if they had a different opinion, because like that's part of the fun for me. And so, yeah, it's like, I just feel like when it comes to something that is so playful, teasing, and so rich with euphemism, like a topic such as eroticism, like, it's just such a shame to not, like, you know, grasp that opportunity. Honestly, I'd like if he could like and subscribe all over me. That's exactly right. That's exactly what I was thinking, yeah. And so, at least personally, when it comes to eroticism, I find the hottest things are not what is just explicitly stated, but more what's kind of like, I don't know, implied, like teased, essentially. And there's actually academic research to justify this, or at the very least, in my eyes, you know, Roland Barthes talks about he kind of analyzes eroticism and how most often, like especially in text, we find that the most erotic portion of a text, as with visual like stimulation, is the part where, as he describes it, the garment gapes. Like seeing someone totally naked might be a thrill, but it's like there's a reason why like sexy outfits and lingerie exist, right? It's like there's something potentially more thrilling about something half obscured, whether it's visually, literally, or like through semantic kind of fuckery, you know what I mean? And so like where the garment gapes, yeah, less is more, absolutely. Where the garment gapes is about what's implied. So Roland Barthes talks about quite a literal interpretation, like the skin that flashes between like someone's shirt riding up and like their pants or skirt or whatever, or the flash of skin between their gloves and their shirt sleeve. Like that's the erotic portion, you know, because it's like an implication of something more, it's suggestive, and it's like, instead of just being like, ice cubes, sorry, it's literally become like a thought terminating cliche for me. But yeah, instead of just being like, oh, an orgasm feels like this, there's just like so much more you can do with that. So much more playfulness that you can imbue your work with. And I feel like a lot of the time Rupi Kaur's work has a distinct lack of playfulness, which is why I think people kind of astutely pointed out that feeling of like the fortune cookie poetry or like AI poetry. And this was before AI was even a thing, so it's kind of extra insulting. Because like, it's quite difficult to make poetry have like less feeling. Does that make sense? But some of the poems that we read together, I felt totally inert. Which I know is a horrible thing to say. But yeah. That's not to say that any of my work is going to be any better. Someone could read this whole website and be like, this is utter tripe. And I'd be like, that's fair. You're free to think that. But I feel like I could make a compelling enough case for each of these poems, and compelling enough for me to like feel good about myself at least. Whereas I feel like, I don't know, what could Rupi Kaur possibly say about some of the poems that we read? I don't know if she has like explained some of her processes before. I haven't seen them myself, but it's like, I just don't understand. I do not compute. So anyway, sorry guys, it's like, it's not that deep. God. Anyway, it's almost impressive to put out that many words and leave so little impression. Thank you. Yes, it is a unique skill set. When setting up your monkeys and typewriters, remember ink ribbons or you get no words at all. It's literally like, I don't know. I literally don't know how to explain this, but it's just so, almost like you have to be trying to like write that way. You know what I mean? Though to be fair, I think Milk and Honey was her first book, and I think she's probably written more since then, so I'm hoping that maybe her style has improved. But just so we can like all be clear about how many books she actually sold, I'm gonna look it up. Milk and Honey copy sold. Fuck me dead. You won't guess. 11 million copies of Ice Cubes. According to Google, it has also been translated into more than 43 languages. And it has been recognized as one of the highest selling poetry books of the 21st century. Cool. This is what we're working with, guys. This is who I'm up against, you know? I'm actually about to crash out. Deep breaths, deep breaths. 11 million copies. Wait, how much does each of them sell for? Milk and Honey by roughly $25. 25 times 11 million. Now do you guys see? Do you guys see why this, like, this just hurts? It hurts on a spiritual level. Yeah. The twitching eyelid. It's okay. I'm okay. At least cookie cutter romance novels make the readers of them actually get the warm fuzzies. Yeah, I know, right? Even if you're writing something kind of like cliche or corny or whatever, or even like stereotypically lowbrow, which I don't even necessarily agree with. I think all forms of entertainment are valid. Like, at least they're like doing something. They're serving a particular niche. What is this serving? Genuinely. I want to go and get my version of Milk and Honey, and I'll show you what I've done to it. So don't go anywhere. I'll be 2 seconds. Enjoy the chair. Shoot. Oh my gosh, I couldn't find it. That's so weird. Okay. Next time, I'll show you my version of Milk and Honey. Because I remember it was on my bookshelf, but unless I took it down for some reason, it's lost to the void currently. But what I did was I basically just repurposed the book for my own poetry. And I took her words and crossed out some of them and circled some of them. So I made blackout poetry from the book itself. And it's not a very kind thing to do necessarily, but I think ultimately for my own sanity, yeah, maybe it just becomes self-aware. Things tend to go missing randomly here. Like, you guys remember that last time, ages and ages ago when I was streaming in Monokuma, my little stuffed teddy bear dropped down from where I was holding it and was never to be seen again. Like, to this day. I scoured this fucking place. Top to tail. Sometimes things just get like lost in the void. And so I think what happened though with that book was that when I was organizing my bookshelf, I must have put it somewhere else. So yeah, maybe a koala stole it. It's true. Basically I was just going to show you guys the blackout poetry that I made. So maybe next time if I find it, if it shows up, maybe Monokuma's reading it. My favorite scary book? This is a really good question, and it requires some unnecessary/necessary background. When I was younger, I used to go to the library a lot and just like borrow random books to read, especially ones that my parents may not have let me read otherwise, because I just go and like pick whatever book I wanted. And there was this one book that looked really, really scary. It was called Burn, I think. And the front cover was like a flame or something like that. And there were two stories. One was the main story, and then there was like kind of a shorter little ditty, few pages in the back. And so the main story, it wasn't really that scary, but it was about this couple who go on holiday, and essentially they go to like this really sunny beautiful vacation resort place, and over time, like I think it was the husband was like getting more and more sunburnt over the trip, and it was just getting out of control. He was like trying like with all his might to add more and more sunscreen to like prevent this sudden onslaught of sunburn that was kind of happening. And eventually he put like a thick layer of sunscreen on and just like accidentally fell asleep on the beach or whatever, and he got like sunburnt to death essentially. And then right at the end, the twist was that the wife had been actually swapping out his sunscreen for like cooking oil. And reading that, I was like, oh my God, that's fucked up, you know? I was like pretty young when I read that. But weirdly enough, however like fucked up that story was, that wasn't even the part that scared me. It was the part at the end, the few pages of a little story that this author had written for some reason. And basically what it was kind of like some random story about this main character doing something, which I know sounds super, super like specific. But it didn't matter what the character was doing, because what mattered was after you read the like 3 or 4 pages of that story, right at the end, the main character says, and by the way, there's like a secret message hidden in this story. If you read the first letter of every sentence, it'll spell out a message. And my like childhood self at the time was like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like I was so impressed by the ability to do such a thing. And so I got my notepad and I was like writing out each first letter of each line, and it was like spelling something out. Y-O-U-A-R. You are going to die. And that was like so cheesy. But like after writing it all out, my younger self was like I got scared as if someone was going to come and get me. Like, and so I returned the book and I never found it ever again. I can't remember who wrote it. I can't even remember if this was just a fever dream that my, like, I don't know, somehow addled brain made up, but I swear this was a thing. And I'm pretty sure I even showed my, like, mom and my auntie at the time, and they were, like, laughing because, like, that's just so silly. Why would you be scared by such a thing? But literally, I was like, oh my God, because I read this sentence, I'm going to die. Like, soon. I mean, technically it's true. We are all going to die at some point. But, yeah. That book in particular, it got me good. And I think I kind of learnt my lesson regarding borrowing books maybe a bit above my pay grade, so to speak. And so it's not like the stereotypical favorite scary book, because I think most people would say something more well known, like something Stephen King or yeah, something along those lines. But that's one that stuck with me, and the fact that I've never been able to find it again adds a bit to the mystique, I think. It's like, what the hell? Where did this book come from? And that idea of like replacing sunscreen with cooking oil, I mean, first of all, I'm pretty sure you'd be able to tell, but like, how devious. Because the more you add thinking that it's helping, the actual worse it gets. But I don't know if cooking oil would actually make you cook longer in the sun. Like, I don't know. I don't know about the mechanics of that. But yeah, that was a funny a funny experience as a kid. I think that may have also like interested me early on in like meta text, like, you know, the message hidden in the story. That's a form of meta text, I think, if we're considering meta text to be text about text, or like, yeah, something related to the text itself that's not the actual story. And so, yeah. Visibly, you've got a horror short story idea. That's so cool. The gist is that an author's manuscript becomes sentient and doesn't like how it's being written, so it starts fighting back. That's so cool. Yeah, I mean, those types of stories are what really interests me, because it's like, it's trying something different. It's like kind of breaking the mold. And so write it. See how you go. And if you need any like help along the way, I'll do my best. The death of the author is great though. That's also actually funnily enough, we were talking about Roland Barthes before, who was talking about the eroticism of text. He actually wrote The Death of the Author, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check that. Yeah, Roland Barthes. I always used to call him Roland Barthes, but apparently his name is pronounced Bart, which for some reason is harder to say. Yeah, I tend to agree with that notion as well, like that idea of like once a text is out there, you're basically offering it up to the world. So like you can't really expect to have to regain or retain full ownership of how it's received. You know, like, oh, you can't take that away from my work. That's not what I meant when I wrote it. It's like, once it's released out into the wild, it becomes more of a collaborative thing than like a proprietorial thing, if that's even a word. And for me, that's part of the joy. Like, I like that idea of having it evolve and change over time. And sometimes people's suggestions may not have been something I was even thinking of before. But once it's out in the open, I'm like, oh yeah, that actually is better than what I was thinking. And so a lot of people don't really, like, some people care about death of the author, some people don't care about it. I think it's helpful, you know? Like, it turns a text, and when I say text, I mean any piece of media, whether it's written or not. It turns a text into a live thing, something that is growing and evolving over time, that isn't bound necessarily by the finite constraints of the writer and their historical, cultural context, you know? Like, yeah, you can do a gay reimagining of, like, I don't know, fucking Homer Simpson if you want to, even if that's not what they intended. If you can find enough, like, little clues, if you can justify it compellingly enough, like, I'm inclined to believe, like, you know, whatever it is people are offering up for an argument. And so, yeah, Roland Barthes was a very clever man, and I think sometimes his work gets misinterpreted. Sometimes people think that death of the author means that you should try and separate the art from the artist, but that's a whole other discussion. And sometimes, yeah, I don't know why it gets confused necessarily, but maybe they're using death as opposed to, like, to try and mean that, okay, the author does not have anything to do with this work, so don't judge it based on the goodness or badness of this person's life. So anyway, it's a very long-winded way to say all that. Goodness me, I've talked everyone's ear off today. I think for now, it's about time that we head off. I'm just smiling because just thinking about fucking yeah, ice cubes. We can raid out, and I'll do my best to show up tomorrow as well. I know I've been kind of, yeah, almost falling back into that one stream every second day rhythm, but I'm still not certain. So tomorrow, I'll do my best to show up here. And hopefully by then, my computer has finally moved all my photos. Well, my phone has moved all its photos onto my computer. So, Quim, hello. I'm sorry, we're about to like raid out. It's good to see you, my friend. Cause yeah, it's been a long 24 plus hours of moving 40,000 pictures and videos to my computer. Do I happen to remember if it was More Horowitz Horror by Anthony Horowitz? Oh yeah, that might be it. And if that is it, oh my god. Then I will literally kiss you consensually. I think that's it. That's actually it. Oh my god, you got it. I'll show you. That's literally it. You guys always come in clutch. Like that last time when I was trying to find that DS game. When I was trying to find that other, like I was trying to find books. I was trying to find songs, shows. Oh god, that's it. I remember this cover, though apparently this is another cover. More stories you'll wish you never read. That was literally me. It's like a fucking 10-year-old. Hell hath no fury. I hope I actually got the synopsis correct, because it was a while ago that I read this, but I just remembered a really, really bad sunburn and someone replacing sunscreen with like cooking oil. You can absolutely swap that smooch for a little poem. Absolutely, my friend. Non-fungible. Oh my god. That's it. And so, yeah, I don't know why I picked this up as a kid thinking, yeah, I'm going to read this. But I guess I thought I was being like all grown up and adult. And then I got my little butt scared. So, yeah. Wow, that's such a high as we like raid out for today. And of course, I'll do our affirmations. But let me see who's live first. Holy shit, that's just amazing. If anyone has any raid recs, let me know. Gizmo, thank you for stopping by. Our first time chatter. I'll be back tomorrow. Not sure what time. Maybe similar time if I get up early. And I will be talking less about ice cubes and Rupi Kaur's poetry. So, thank you guys for putting up with me, seriously. We got Shad's live, T-Bear, Bit of Nymph, we got Kazzy, Sass. Wow, a few people. Maybe Bit of Nymph again. I think that's Mr. Redcastle's, or should I say Scars Horizon's friend. I'm gonna go and try to write the stealthiest, horniest collection of words I can muster. Yes, that is everyone's homework for today, because seriously, we need to counterbalance every one of Rupi Kaur's fortune cookie poems. Yeah, I should read that story on stream, Quim. What do you think? I think that would be so funny, and like, it might not even be that scary. But like, I was fucking terrified. I was more terrified of the other story, but yeah, that one still got me because I was like, dang, that's ruthless. And here in Australia, sunburn is a genuine fear. Like, it can be brutal. So, anyway, before we raid out, it's my pleasure to tell you as we sign off for today. Yes. Yes, you are. You are ready. You are equipped. You are connected. You are unique. You are gorgeous. You are loved. And my personal favorite, you are alive So thank you for joining me here today, for letting me like rant and rave, but more importantly, for being here on this earth in general. I know it's not always easy, but it is always, 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 always important. And I do believe we can make life good for one another. So that's worth sticking around for, I think. Yeah, let's raid into a bit of Nymph, play in something, and I'll see you guys soon. Yeah, I guess that's it. Goodbye now. Bye. That's a meme, by the way. Thank you, everyone, and I'll see you before you know it. Behave, or at the very least, don't get caught. Hugs and kisses. Hugs and kisses. Have a wonderful day. Mwah.